Now, if you need to sleep at least 8 hours just to be able to do something during the day, hey, I'm with you on that one, bud. But if you can sleep for less than 6 hours and still function without any trouble, chances are you're lucky to have short sleeper syndrome. It's a genetic condition that allows you to sleep much less than other people and not regret it at all. Better yet, there are no known side effects to it, so it's an all-around win. On a similar note, you ever wake up and look at your tousled hair with frustration? And now imagine having this disheveled look forever and not being able to do anything about it. It's called the uncombable hair syndrome. Your hair's always sticking out every which way, and no amount of water or hair gel can tame it. Luckily, it usually happens in kids and passes all by itself as they reach teenage years. Still, what an excuse to never waste time combing your hair in the morning. A second pair of arms would come in handy in a lot of situations, but an extra pair of fingers might be helpful too. About 1 in every 500 people is born with 6 digits on either hand. Hey, give me a high 6! In most cases, the extra fingers are considered useless and removed, but research has shown that those who left them could do lots of everyday things with just one hand, like tying their shoelaces or playing video games with game pads. Hey, I wonder if this is the next stage of human evolution after all. I guess buying gloves could also be challenging. If something doesn't seem right to you in this hand, it's because it has a triphalangeal thumb. About 1 in 25,000 people are born with the thumbs on their hands having 3 phalanges or bones instead of the usual 2, giving their hands a very extraordinary look. And when it happens in combination with 6 fingers, which isn't too rare by the way, the picture is even more cryptic. Such a condition doesn't bring much discomfort. In fact, some actions are even easier done with a thumb that has an extra phalange. Imagine falling from the roof of a 10-story building and getting away with a few bruises and scratches, but no broken bones whatsoever. Such a genetic anomaly was discovered back in 1994. It makes a person's bones about 8 times denser than normal, which basically makes them indestructible. There was a case where a man had gotten in a serious car crash and not only survived, but had not a single fracture. What's even better, for him at least, is that the feature seems to be hereditary. It means he could pass it down to his kids, and they'll become unbreakable too. The next condition wouldn't give you any unusual abilities, but it looks beautiful. Heterochromia makes your eyes 2 different colors, say one hazel and the other blue. It has to do with the levels of melanin in your body, a pigment that affects the color of your skin, hair, and yes, your eyes. There's also partial heterochromia, when only a part of one of your eyes is differently colored. It's not too common in humans, but I bet you've seen it in dogs, huskies in particular. This breed is naturally predisposed to this condition, and I think it looks super cool. You've probably heard that cholesterol doesn't do much good for your body, and it's usually hard to get rid of it. Well, there are people who have a natural immunity against it. A specific gene in their bodies doesn't allow cholesterol to pile up in their blood, and so they can easily avoid most troubles it may otherwise cause. Too low levels of it might be an issue as well, but in most cases, it's not inhibited, just kept at bay. Our eyes allow us to see millions of colors and shades thanks to 3 types of cones inside of them. Each type is responsible for seeing a range of shades between the 3 primary colors, red, green, and blue. But there are people who have an extra cone type. They're called tetrachromats, and we can't even start to imagine what the world looks like to them. They see millions more shades than others do and can show you the difference between 2 virtually similar colors. Interestingly, most mammals used to have 4 types of cones in their eyes in the distant past, but lost one in the process of evolution. A less impressive, but not less rare condition is the so-called double crown. Now, a crown is that patch of hair on top of your head that goes in a spiral. It's pretty hard to miss if you have short hair, especially because it's the hardest part to smooth down. Yeah. People normally have 1, but there are unlucky individuals to have 2, and double the smoothing trouble. Still, some believe having a double crown is, on the contrary, a sign of good luck, or even high intelligence. If you ever wanted to meet a real-life Superman or Supergirl, seek a person with inactive myostatin protein. That's a real genetic anomaly that makes a person super strong. Their muscles grow without inhibition from early age. Kids with inactivated myostatin develop physically much faster than their peers, and when grown up, they can achieve superior athletic success. This condition was first observed in cows. Some bovines grew to be exceptionally muscular with little signs of body fat. Turns out humans can be just like that as well. Climbing mountains is not only physically difficult, but also tough on the lungs. Breathing becomes harder the closer you get to the sky because the air is thinner up there. Well, not so much for the Tibetans though. Research has shown that mountain dwellers have an exclusive genetic mutation. They can easily breathe the thin mountain air as if they were in a valley. This also makes them extremely hardy, being able to do much more hard work than regular people. That's why the gene responsible for this adaptation is also called the super athlete gene. The rarest genetic condition there probably is, called the golden blood, can be a lifesaver for millions of people. There are just 40 known carriers of this blood type in the world. They don't have any Rh blood antigens, which means anyone can accept their blood, even those with extremely rare blood types. And although their blood isn't golden in color, it's certainly worth more than just gold. Now, if you remember Elizabeth Taylor, you probably also recall how beautiful and expressive her eyes were. That was in part thanks to a rare genetic disorder, double eyelashes. A small number of people around the world have 2 rows of eyelashes instead of 1, making them look just gorgeous. On the downside, the second row might get into the eye, causing irritation. So sometimes people with this condition have to pluck the excess eyelashes. Identical twins are rare enough themselves, but there's a super rare occasion of different twins. Even when they're born from the same egg, sometimes kids don't even resemble each other. In some cases, even skin color can be different. Such kids are often born to mixed-race couples. One of the twins could inherit a gene for white skin, for example, and the other a gene for dark skin, and voila! Vitiligo is a condition that makes the skin, hair, and nails lose color in patches because of the lack of melanin. About 2% of all people in the world have this disorder, and surprisingly, it's become something of a fashion trend nowadays. There are several successful fashion models who have vitiligo, and you can't argue that they look magnificent. Cleft chin, just like dimples on the cheeks, looks adorable, and it's also a genetic mutation. It appears when the bones or muscles in the lower jaw don't fuse completely during the baby's development inside the womb. It's hereditary, but if you have a cleft chin, it doesn't mean your kids will have it too. There are environmental factors that can prevent it from developing. If vitiligo means you have a partial lack of melanin, albinism is a condition where this pigment is absent from your body altogether. Very few people have it, and they look completely out of this world with their snow-white skin, hair, eyelashes, and pale blue or gray eyes. Animals can have it too. There are particularly marvelous cases of albino peacocks, and even crocodiles that are completely white. Another type of albinism is called ocular albinism. The difference is that it only affects the eyes. The pigment is lacking in the irises, making the eyes look wonderfully alien. The downside is that the lack of melanin makes the eyes really sensitive to light. So people with this condition have to take great care of their sight. Hey, check it out. Your bones are designed to be used a lot every day. Some of them can absorb the force of 2 or even 3 times your body weight. That's impressive, but your teeth are even stronger. When you bite something, they can withstand incredible pressure, up to 200 pounds. By the way, the enamel is considered to be a part of your skeletal system. Whenever you rotate your hand, the bones inside your forearm cross. Grab hold of your arm and turn your palm to face first upward and then downward. You'll make sure it's true. Not only is your body 60% water, your bones contain some liquid too. About 25% of the human bone mass is made up of water. The human eye has something in common with a car engine. They both can't work properly without various liquids. The eye needs tears as much as the engine needs oil. Tears should be evenly spread over the surface of your eye. That's why you blink up to 20,000 times a day, and your eyelid plays the role of a windshield wiper. The only part of the human body that doesn't get any nutrients from blood is the cornea, the clear front surface of the eye. Instead, it's fed by tears on the outside and special fluids on the inside. When you blush, it means there's increased blood flow in your body. And then, not only your cheeks, but also your stomach lining gets somewhat red. It's because it has plenty of blood vessels. When there's more blood than usual in them, the lining blushes. Your stomach lining gets replaced every 3 to 4 days. This prevents the organ from eating itself. The digestive acids there are exceptionally powerful. People can accidentally swallow small objects, such as glass, plastic items, coins, and many others. Normally, they don't cause any harm and pass through the digestive tract within 48 hours. Tiny quantities of plastic you might consume by mistake won't harm you, but your stomach will have problems with digesting grass. Grazing animals have special teeth and stomachs to process raw leaves and grass. People aren't equipped that way. Moo. The stomach is the most important protector of the immune system. It contains hydrochloric acid. This acid gets rid of dangerous food toxins, viruses, and bacteria that come along with the food you eat. The stomach itself would be digested by this strong acid if the mucous membrane didn't protect it. You've got two really fast muscles. They control your eyelids closing. They're the swiftest in your body. Your eyes are fragile and need protection. When a special reflex is triggered, for example, when something suddenly touches your eye, these muscles only need 1/10 of a second to shut the eyelids. Women usually blink more than men. Plus, the older you get, the more frequently you do it. By the way, when you watch a movie with a friend, you both blink in unison. Do you think you owe your firm handshake to your strength workouts? It's more likely thanks to your pinky. Just kidding. And still, the pinky is the strongest finger out there. It's responsible for 50% of the entire hand strength. But the most used finger is the thumb. If a person loses it, their hand becomes 40% less agile. Oh, and the thumb has its own pulse, thanks to the artery running through it. Your big toes carry more than 40% of your weight, more than all the other toes combined. All in all your toes are a big deal. They provide support and balance when you walk, and when you run, they help you to be faster. No more than 2% of people have natural red hair. They're followed by blondes, about 3%, and all kinds of brown shades, about 11%. But the world's most common hair colors are black and dark brown. Hair is almost indestructible. It can be burned or affected by strong acids, but that's pretty much all you can do to destroy it. Your hair usually stops growing at a certain length, and since a hair lives for 2 to 7 years, its length doesn't normally exceed 42 inches. Tell that to this lady from China, who got to the Guinness World Records with the longest hair ever. In 2004, it was a bit more than 18 feet 5 inches long. Wow, what a drag! Nails can grow staggeringly long too. Some of the longest nails in the world belong to this guy from India. Their combined length was 29 feet 10 inches, which is almost as long as a London double-decker. The man cut them off back in 2018. Nailed it! Nails do help us catch small objects and peel stickers off, but that's not all. If you didn't have a rigid structure to press against, you wouldn't be able to understand how firmly you should hold things. Not only your hair and nails, but also your liver can grow. It's the largest internal organ by mass. The liver can fully regenerate from only 51% of its original mass back to the full size. At the same time, constant damage to the liver will result in scars. The largest organ in your whole body is the skin. It makes up more than 15% of your total body weight. People lose 30,000 to 40,000 skin cells every single minute. It adds up to 9 pounds of skin cells a year. You know that dust in your house? Well, now you know where some of it comes from. The tongue isn't the only organ that helps you recognize taste. Your nose also plays a critical role in this process. It's often said the nose is responsible for 75 to 95% of your taste perception. Try holding your nose next time you eat. Gnaw on an onion or eat some smoked fish. It's not that you won't feel any taste at all, but it's going to be way blander. Your taste buds won't work properly if your mouth is too dry. You simply won't feel the taste until the food is covered in saliva. It contains enzymes, which are complex protein molecules. They start to break down your food as soon as it gets into your mouth. A recent study has found out that people can distinguish more than 1 trillion smells. You tend to remember odors better than sounds or images. That's why smells can evoke distant memories. When you're asleep, you don't feel any odors. Your sense of smell basically deactivates at night. Even if there's some terrible stench in your bedroom, you won't notice it. I'm sure my dog is relieved to hear that. The color of your dreams seem to be affected by the TV you watched as a kid. If it was black and white, you probably see monochrome dreams more often than not. If you're used to color television, your dreams are likely to be colorful. What kind of dreams did people in the Middle Ages have then? Nights that say ni? Your heart can give you away when you lie by starting to beat faster. Women's hearts are usually smaller than men's. That's why they have to work harder and make more beats. Otherwise, they won't be able to pump enough blood. Even if you brush your teeth twice a day and never forget about mouthwash, your mouth still remains one of the dirtiest parts of your body. Millions of bacteria live there. The good news is that most of them are good for your health. They protect your body from bad bacteria and viruses. The second dirtiest place is your belly button. You don't really use it after you were born, so this forlorn area accumulates all kinds of germs, sweat, and dirt. The belly button has over 2,300 bacterial species, and it does need extra attention. They say eyes don't grow with the rest of the body. Well, it's not 100% true, because the eyes aren't fully developed until you're about 21. But the absolute growth champions here are your ears and nose. They never stop growing. Wow, what was that thing about elephants again? Must have been a different video. If all your blood vessels were stretched into a single line, dang, you would be in a really tough spot. But they would go round the earth 4 times. You can't tickle yourself, no matter how hard you try. You've just checked that and failed, haven't you? That's because your brain warns you that you're about to be tickled, which it can't do if it's someone else. Ever wondered why you feel so sleepy after lunch? One of the reasons is your circadian rhythm, which runs on a 24-hour cycle. It demands that you have a nap 7 hours after waking up, and the food just adds to this effect. As simple as that. Oh, excuse me, it's time. Wow, just one strand of hair can support about 3 ounces. On average, a person has about 150,000 strands. And when your hair is working as a team, it can support about 12 tons. That's 2 elephants. Not counting the peanuts. Your brain generates electricity, and it'd be enough to light up a small light bulb, if you could only figure out how. It doesn't hurt to cut your nails or hair, because the only part that's alive is under the skin. Also, nails grow faster in summer than in winter, even in places where there's not much difference between the seasons. Also, nails grow faster on your writing hand, probably because you use it more often and that stimulates the nails more. It looks like the pinky finger is weak, but that's not true at all. Without it, you'd lose 50% of your hand strength. It usually works together with your ring finger to provide power. The other 3 are more for grabbing stuff. Oh, and just like fingerprints, your tongue has a unique print too. But you can't use it to unlock your phone, at least not yet. Also, your tongue has a lot of fat in it. If you gain weight, your tongue does too. There's acid in your stomach that breaks down food. The acid is so strong that it could eat right through a piece of wood. The total length of all blood vessels in an adult is close to 100,000 miles. That's 4 times around the equator. In your lifetime, you produce enough saliva to fill 2 swimming pools. Our ancestors needed goosebumps to make their body hair stand on end and scare away any bad guys. We don't need that anymore, but we still get them because we haven't evolved enough yet to get rid of this feature. Now, you've probably never noticed, but you mostly only breathe through one nostril at a time. Every few hours, the nostrils switch jobs. That's why only one nostril gets stuffy when you have the flu. Most people think they have 5 senses, but that's not true. Scientists don't yet know themselves, but they think there's more than 20. There's sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste, and there are other senses like time, hunger, and thirst. Then there's proprioception, the sense of where your body is in space. The brain can't always tell the difference between intense happiness and intense sadness. It gets that you're experiencing a very strong emotion, but sometimes it gets a bit confused. That's why you might cry when you're very happy. Your eyes stay about the same size your whole life, but your nose and ears don't. That'd be so weird. Back in the day, all humans had brown eyes. Other eye colors developed as a result of a random mutation. Scientists think that while the first humans appeared on Earth around 6 million years ago, the first blue-eyed person appeared only 10,000 years ago. So it's pretty likely that all blue-eyed people on the planet have the same ancestor. Uncle Bob! All bones in the human body are connected to each other except one. The hyoid bone is U-shaped and located at the base of the tongue, holding it in place. Bones are stronger than steel. A strong, healthy bone could, in theory, handle the weight of 5 pickup trucks. Still, they're not the strongest body part. The strongest is tooth enamel. It's made of a bunch of different materials that make it damage-resistant. Teeth live a long time, lasting for hundreds of years. But of course, you still need to take care of them. They're the only body part that can't heal itself. Your heart works non-stop and beats around 3 billion times over the course of your lifetime. Just like your heart, your tongue never takes a vacation. Even when you sleep, it helps push saliva down your throat. By the way, where do you rest your tongue? If you keep it on the bottom of your mouth, you're doing it wrong. This posture might lead to some neck and jaw pain. If you keep it jammed up against your teeth, you're doing it wrong too. It can cause your teeth to shift and might lead to a bad bite. Instead, try to keep it sort of halfway, about a half an inch away from your teeth. Now, we can't breathe and swallow at the same time. That's because whatever we swallow and the air we breathe travel down the same path, at least at first. It's like there's a little guy directing traffic down there. Your eyes can breathe. The cornea is the only body part that doesn't have a direct blood supply. It gets oxygen right from the air. That's why when it's dry outside, your eyes might get a bit itchy. Everyone dreams. Some people say they've never dreamt a night in their life, but they just never remember any of their dreams. Some scientists think that the dreaming stage is followed by an active forgetting stage. It's probably because dreams aren't exactly full of important information, and our brain needs to clean up some extra space for something more useful. Those who are lucky enough to remember their dreams still end up forgetting about half within 5 minutes of waking up, and after 10 minutes, it's usually gone for good. When you blush, the lining of your stomach turns red too. It happens because blood starts to flow around more when you're embarrassed, as your body gets ready for something stressful to happen. Your face and stomach lining get more of it, turning them red. Also, humans are the only animals who can blush, or at least the only ones where you can see it so obviously. During one lifetime, the average human grows 590 miles of hair. The average man, if he never shaved, would have a 30-foot-long beard. Hair grows a little faster in warm climates because heat stimulates faster circulation in our bodies. Everything you'd ever need to know about you is all written down in one strand of hair. From a single hair, a scientist could tell you what you've been eating your whole life and what kind of environment you've lived in. On average, one human eats their way through 100,000 pounds of food in one lifetime. That's like 10 big hippos worth of food. Lips are one of the most sensitive parts of the human body. They have loads of nerve endings, even more than your fingers. Also, lip skin is very thin, so you can actually see the blood capillaries inside. That's why lips are red or pink, unlike the rest of your body. Lips are also very sensitive to sun damage, so remember to apply sunscreen on them. It'll help to preserve their health and fullness over time. In addition to your fingerprints, your iris, and your tongue, your lips are also unique. The total surface of your lungs is about the same as a tennis court. Coughs and sneezes are real fast travelers. A cough can get up to 50 miles per hour. A sneeze is even faster, almost 100 miles per hour. Unless you use your fingers to help you, it's impossible to sneeze with your eyes open. Scientists don't really know what's going on there. Some say it's just a reflex, so you can't control it. Others think it happens to shield your eyes from whatever's flying out. All humans literally glow. The light comes from your body heat. It's actually 1,000 times less intense than you're capable of seeing, but still awesome. The largest flash drive in the world is actually your brain. Well, anyone's brain. The neurons in it combine together in such a way that your storage capacity is about 1 million gigabytes. It's enough to hold 3 million hours of movies. That's like a 300-year-long movie night. Hey, pass the popcorn. You start feeling thirsty when you lose about 1% of your body weight. If you lose 5%, you might even feel like fainting. Fingers don't have muscles that make them move. The muscles that do that are located in the palm and the forearm. The word muscle actually comes from the old Latin word for mouse. That's what the Romans thought their biceps looked like. On average, in their lifetime, a person walks about 110,000 miles. That's 4 times the distance around our planet, or half the distance from the Earth to the Moon. So, remember to wear comfortable shoes.
The cornea is the only part of your body with living cells that doesn't have blood vessels. It gets nutrients and oxygen directly from the tear fluid on the outside, and the thick watery substance you have between the cornea on the inside, and also from the nerve fibers connected to the cornea. That's why contact lenses used to be a potential issue. The older ones were reducing oxygen supply, since the cornea mostly gets oxygen from the outside. This problem was solved, or at least reduced, when silicone hydrogel lenses came to the market. Some other parts of your body with no blood vessels are your nails, hair, outer skin layers, and tooth enamel. Did you notice your sweat sometimes smells of onions after your workout? You have nothing to worry about. There are 2 types of sweat glands in your skin. The first kind of glands are located on certain areas of your body, like the groin region and the armpits. They produce a specific oily fluid, which is a response to certain emotional experiences. Another type of sweat gland is way more common. They're distributed all over your body and are responsible for the specific sweat you get after the workout. The sweat cools your body down as it evaporates from your skin. It's 99% water, so it's practically odorless. Well, at least when it first leaves the pores and comes to the surface of your skin. But there are many types of bacteria on the human skin, and they feed on the nutrients in that sweat, together with skin flakes. One of the byproducts of this is specific chemicals, and their smell can sometimes strongly remind you of onion. You may have noticed you produce more saliva when you go for a run, especially if it's a short jog in cold weather. But if you're running a marathon and it's a nice warm day outside, you'll produce less saliva. It's your body trying to offset the drying effect, since you breathe through your mouth way more. But your body becomes more dehydrated over longer periods, which is why it's trying to conserve water by reducing saliva production. Every training you do, no matter how intensive it is, also makes you secrete more of a specific type of protein. It makes the saliva more viscous and sticky, which is why you may feel like your mouth is dry way more after your workout. Humans see the world 15 seconds out of date, which means your brain constantly keeps you a little bit in the past. This way, it helps you stabilize your vision of the world around you. Your eyes receive a huge amount of visual information. Yep, literally millions of colors, shapes, and ever-changing motion wherever you turn. It's not an easy task for your brain to process all that. The visual world alters all the time because of changes in viewpoint, light, and the rest of the outer factors. Your visual input changes because you need to blink. Plus, your head, eyes, and your entire body are always in some sort of motion. Your brain has to establish a mechanism that can create illusory stability. It automatically smooths your visual input. It doesn't analyze every little visual snapshot. It's like a time machine. You actually perceive an average of things you saw in the past 15 seconds at any given moment. The brain pulls together objects so they appear more similar to each other. That's why it tricks you into believing you're in stable surroundings. If your brain kept you updated in real time, the world would feel like a very, very chaotic place with constant changes in movement, light, and shadow, which would probably feel like you were hallucinating all the time. Your bones are really strong, but your teeth, which we also consider as part of the skeletal system, are even stronger. That's because of the enamel, the hard outer layer of your tooth. The enamel keeps the tissue and the delicate nerves inside your teeth safe. You're basically burning calories while you're thinking. When you rest and don't engage in any particular activity except for the basics, which includes digesting, breathing, and keeping yourself warm, it's the stage where your brain uses up to 20 to 25% of the total energy of your body. That means your body will burn around 350 to 450 calories per day while pretty much doing nothing. We're not the only ones in the animal kingdom with such a mechanism. Some small mammals like the minuscule pygmy marmoset and the tiny tree shrew devote the same percentage of their total body energy to their brain. Most of the energy the brain burns is to help its cells, the neurons, to communicate with each other. They do it via chemical signals the brain transmits across synapses, those special cell structures. So, the brain directs a lot of energy towards synapses in order to make them work. Your brain never really rests. Even when you're sleeping, certain parts are active. So, your brain needs its fuel to work, and you're basically burning calories in your sleep. The more demanding mental tasks you take throughout the day, the more calories you burn. So, if you skip today's workout, solve some Sudoku. Do you like to rush with your ice cream? Sometimes it pays off, but if you do it often, you must know the feeling of brain freeze pretty well. It's a pretty intense and uncomfortable feeling that comes from the front or sides of your head right after you drink or eat something cold, such as a slushy drink, ice cream, or an ice pop. Some people even go through a similar sensation whenever they're exposed to cold air. Scientists are still not sure exactly why this happens, but one of the theories is the cold substance stimulates a cluster of nerves located at the back of the palate. Another theory says the blood vessels in the roof of the mouth and sinuses quickly constrict because the temperature in your mouth drops before they dilate again. Brain freeze is not something dangerous that you should be seriously worried about. And no, hanging over the table, groaning, or clasping your head in your hands won't help much. Some people like to sleep a lot. Hey, guilty as charged. But some have a certain condition called familiar natural short sleepers, which means they're kind of immune to sleep deprivation. About 1% of our population has it. They can fall short on sleep and feel pretty good about it. They're fine with sleeping for 6 hours per night. This amount would wreck the majority of people after a couple of nights. The human eye normally has 3 cones. That means we can recognize approximately 1 million different shades in the green, red, and blue spectrums of colors. But there are some people with a rare condition, so-called tetrachromats, that have 4 cones in their eyes. This allows them to see ultraviolet shades, which means they can distinguish 100 million distinct colors. Did you know your skeleton is all wet? I mean, your entire body mostly consists of water, up to 60%. That fluid is not only in your organs, muscles, and skin, it's in your skeleton too. Your bone mass is almost 1/3 water. There's this amazing hidden network a human body holds inside. Blood vessels are really small, but if you could line them all up, you'd get something huge. Your entire body boasts a network of 60,000 miles of blood vessels. One of the ways to keep your network healthy is by eating right. Have you ever wondered why our distant relatives, the primates, are so much stronger than us? In many ways, our bodies are very similar. Look at the chimp's muscle structure, for example. But our closest primate relatives are approximately 1.35 times stronger than us. The human body developed more slow-twitch muscle fibers compared to the rest of the primates. This type of muscle fiber is a less powerful one, but it lets us endure more than other primates and do things like foraging and hunting, activities that helped our distant ancestors to survive. That's also the reason why we can run a marathon. A monkey could never do it. But we'd still lose in a strength competition. Laughter is contagious. It's not just a metaphor. Researchers have found that strong emotions can make the brain activity of different people sync. Laughter is something science usually links with social creatures. People are almost 30 times more likely to laugh when in some social situations, hanging out with their friends or people they feel relaxed with. One of the theories says that you're probably going to join when you see your friend laughing because humans are empathetic beings. Your brain will release endorphins when you're laughing. These are special chemicals that make you feel safe and at ease. So we're not sure why exactly our laughter is contagious, but it feels really good, so... Join us on the bright side of life and laugh away. Most people are sure that humans only have 5 senses, but that's not entirely true. Taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing aren't the only ones we have. Scientists claim that people have between 9 and 20 senses in total. These include thermoception, the sense of warmth, equilibrioception, the sense of balance. There's also the sense of time, although not everyone seems to have that last one. We used to think that there were just 8 different blood types, but in reality, there are over 30 known blood group systems. Here on the bright side, our favorite blood group is B positive. Get it? For every pound of fat you gain, you generate 1 mile of new blood vessels to supply oxygen and nutrients to your body. Your stomach produces a new lining every 6 days to avoid digesting itself. Nerve cells transmit 1,000 nerve impulses a second. They travel between 1 and 268 miles per hour. Our DNA contains 100,000 viruses. Scientists have discovered one that goes back 100 million years. Your body emits visible light. You're the brightest at 4 p.m., and your glow is the least visible at 10 a.m. Unfortunately, this glowing is 1,000 times less intense than what your eyes can see. Sweat is mostly water mixed with proteins, sugars, ammonia, and a lot of other stuff. It even contains tiny amounts of trace metals like copper, zinc, nickel, iron, and so on. What makes sweat taste salty is the sodium it contains. Plus, the more salt you eat, the saltier your sweat is. Your body's trying to get rid of the excess, and the fastest way is to sweat it out. If you walked 2 miles per hour, you'd have to walk for 20 hours straight to lose 1 pound. And it would take you 518 days and 8 hours to circle the equator. Earwax isn't actually wax. It contains fat, skin cells, sweat, and dirt. Your brain gets 3 times bigger over the first year of life and reaches its full maturity when you're 25. 60% of it is fat. Your brain generates around 23 watts of electrical power, which is enough to run a small light bulb. Humans can't really multitask. Your brain can't perform more than 1 action at the same time. It switches between them, which doesn't save time as you might think, but increases the possibility you'll do something wrong and makes the process longer. When you have an exam to take, or you're at work trying to focus on an important task, try chewing gum. Research showed it can help you stay concentrated for longer on tasks that require your full attention. Studies even say that it's a better test aid than caffeine. There's nothing special in the gum, but the act of chewing wakes your brain up. The effect doesn't last long though, just for 20 minutes. Embryos develop fingerprints at 3 months. Your bones are 4 times harder than concrete. The strongest bone in your body is the femur. It can support up to 30 times the weight of a grown-up person. Even crazier is that our bones are made up of composite material, meaning they're both hard and elastic at the same time. Sunburn is the result of radiation exposure. When your body's natural defense mechanism gets overwhelmed trying to fight UV rays, a toxic reaction occurs that results in sunburn. Goosebumps are an evolutionary reflex left over from our ancestors. The release of adrenaline made their hair stand up, and they look scarier to approaching predators. Your body produces 1 to 3 pints of saliva every day. It helps you digest food and fights off infections. You also have a lot of bacteria in your mouth. Yeah, that's right. The average amount of bacteria in a person's mouth is almost the same as the number of people living on Earth. That's hard to digest. Each human has roughly 150,000 hairs on their head. Every strand grows around 1/2 inch per month. If we added the growth from each hair, it would measure the distance of 10 miles in just 1 year. Your hair is also a lot stronger than you think. A single strand can hold 3 ounces, which is the weight of an apple. If we combined the strength of all the hair on your head, it could support the weight of 2 elephants. Hey, let's try it. The beating sound your heart makes is the clap of valve leaflets opening and closing. Your heart doesn't replicate itself unless you have an injury. Your corneas are the only part of your body that don't get blood. They get oxygen directly through the air. When you're sitting or standing upright, it's easier for you to recall some positive memories that make you feel good. Some believe it's because sitting up with your back flat boosts blood flow, and your brain gets more oxygen, which helps it function better. The man who has the deepest voice in the world, and that's definitely not me, can produce sounds that humans, including him, can't hear at all. But elephants can hear those sounds. Veins look blue because light has to go through layers of skin and fat to reach them. Your skin scatters a lot of the red portion of white light before it reflects the blood. This leaves only the blue light to bounce back to your eyes. A person who has anosmia is unable to detect smells. Phantosmia is the opposite condition, when someone smells an odor that isn't actually there. The human brain has 100 billion neurons. It's 73% water, and the same is true about the heart. That's why if your brain loses even 2% of its liquid, you start to feel tired. It also makes your memory worse, shortens your attention span, and puts a dampener on your mood. The earliest known person to have had blue eyes lived in the Stone Age, 7,000 years ago. Your right kidney is probably smaller and sits lower down than your left kidney to make room for your liver. By the way, your brain makes sure you don't drink too little or too much water. After you swallow some liquid, your mouth and throat start to fire signals to your brain, telling it to stop drinking. Otherwise, you'd keep gulping down water for the entire 10 to 60 minutes it takes the liquid to get to your cells. Your eyes can see something for a mere 13 milliseconds, and your brain will already process this image. The average blink lasts from 100 to 400 milliseconds. Even though the tongue isn't the strongest muscle in your body, it never gets tired. That's because of the way it's built. It's made up of 8 interwoven muscles. The tongue is the only muscle with ends not connected to bone. Other muscles join 2 bones at both ends because that's how we pull and make a motion. There are around 700 different species of bacteria in your mouth. Over 6 billion of them live there. Your skin is your largest organ. It can cover the surface area of 2 bath towels. It accounts for around 16% of body weight and is around 22 square feet. If you typed 60 words per minute for 8 hours a day, it would take you 50 years to type the human genome. You get tired pretty quickly when you're out in the heat. This happens because your body is trying really hard to keep itself cool, which puts a lot of extra work on it. So you get exhausted and tired, even if you don't do anything physically demanding. Your body has 78 organs, but only 5 of them are essential for survival: the brain, liver, kidney, lungs, and heart. Oh, the phone's ringing. Must be something urgent. At 11 p.m. Only all the gadgets in the house are silent. It's your ears that are ringing. You can also hear some hissing, whistling, buzzing, and even roaring. But all this noise doesn't have an external source. That's why it's known as phantom sounds. They can occur in one or both ears, constantly or from time to time. They're usually most noticeable at night, when nothing distracts you. Women have more taste buds on the surface of their tongues than men do. That's one of the reasons why 35% of ladies and only 15% of guys are super tasters. Those are people who feel flavors more strongly than others. Left-handed people usually prefer to chew on the left side, and right-handed people, well, you guessed it, chew on the right. Even if your fingerprints are damaged, they'll grow back in the same unique pattern. When breathing, a single lung only uses 5% of the oxygen you've inhaled.
Now, I've tried this one myself too. Pinch your elbow as hard as you can. You barely feel pain. How come? Well, different areas of your skin have different nerve endings. Our bodies are designed to be more sensitive to pain in places that are at higher risk of getting damaged. Those important parts have more nerve endings so that we're more alert and able to protect ourselves. And thick skin, like that on elbows, has fewer pain detectors. Now, I'm not talking about the tingling, jolting pain you can feel when you hit your elbow against something. Oh, that feels almost like your entire arm has been electrocuted. It's not a feeling I would consider funny, but it comes from the funny bone. Now, the funny bone isn't actually a bone. It's a nerve that starts in your spine, goes through your neck, through your elbow, and through your fingers. Its real name is the ulnar nerve. It's one of the 3 primary nerves in your arm, and it provides sensation to the fingertips. Your ulnar nerve is well protected by muscle, fat, and bone. But there's one spot at your elbow where this nerve is exposed, and that spot is, the funny bone. A different but real version of Achilles' story, huh? Okay, so now you know why it hits so different when you bump your funny bone and why you feel nothing when you pinch your elbow. Now, the next phenomenon is related to socially awkward moments. Okay, maybe not entirely. It might happen when your crush gives you a compliment. I'm talking about blushing. Now, I'm not sure those butterflies in your stomach exist when you're in love. But I'm sure of this, when you blush, your stomach lining also turns red. Yeah, I've looked. The stomach lining is the tissue that protects your stomach walls from the acid inside. When you blush, it also turns red because blushing happens when the blood rises to the surface of the skin. This affects the stomach too. Now, this is a natural process, a physiological response to the change in your emotions. Now, since we're talking about the stomach, it might be a good time to mention that the stomach fluid has the ability to melt a steel table. Yup. This means the acid would be able to digest your internal organs. Luckily, the stomach lining prevents this from happening. Number 3 is about letting you know that you can glow in the dark. Now, don't turn off the lights just yet. You can't see it with the unaided eye. These visuals of glittering human bodies come from ultra-sensitive cameras. Japanese scientists were the first to capture the images of human bioluminescence. Only ultra-sensitive cameras can reveal that our bodies emit tiny amounts of light, because this light is 1,000 times weaker than the human eye can detect. Apparently, all living creatures produce a small amount of light thanks to the chemical reactions in their cells. Humans are newly added to this list. The researchers had been photographing the upper bodies of the volunteers for several days. The results showed that the amount of emitted light followed a 24-hour cycle. The glow is at its highest in late afternoon and lowest late at night. Plus, the brightest light is emitted from the cheeks, forehead, and neck. Interestingly, this does not correspond with the brightest areas caught by thermal cameras. Did you know you're a little bit taller in the morning than you are later at night? Yes, I've been measuring you. Seriously, this height difference is related to gravity. Its force compresses the cartilage in your spine and knees when you stand up or sit down throughout the day. But when you're lying down, your spine decompresses and relaxes. That's why when you wake up in the morning after resting in bed all night, you're taller. The increase in height is not even above an inch, so don't bet on who is taller after hearing this information. Fun fact, astronauts returning from a mission are a few inches taller than they usually are on Earth. It's because of the lack of gravity on the International Space Station. They don't remain that tall forever, though. When they're on the Earth again, gravity gradually squeezes them back down to their usual height. Now, let's get back to the organ we've already spoken about, the skin. Yes, the skin is an organ. In fact, it's the largest organ in your body. It contributes to about 15% of your body weight. What else does this organ do besides covering your body? It performs vital functions. For instance, it protects your body from external physical and biological harm. Plus, it prevents excessive water loss. Now, I can't help wondering what other surprises the human body has in store for us. But right now, let's move on to the animal planet. Owls don't have eyeballs. Instead, they have something called eye tubes. Their rod-shaped eyes do not move in their sockets as our eyeballs do. That's why owls would have to move their entire bodies to look around. But moving their torsos would make some noise, and other animals would hear it. So owls have evolved to have necks that can twist to around 270 degrees, and they move super silently. But why the concern? Well, night vision requires large corneas to get as much light as possible. This is the main reason why most nocturnal animals, such as the slow loris or tarsier, have big eyes. For owls, it works a little differently. Since they have small heads, such large eyes wouldn't be able to fit inside. Now, even though these creatures don't have eyeballs, they have 3 sets of eyelids. One set is for blinking, one is for sleeping, and the last one is for keeping their eye tubes clean. So, do the owls give a hoot about that? Yes, they do. Moving on from nocturnal animals to the ones you're more familiar with. Meow. Cats have an extra organ that allows them to taste scents in the air. This organ is called Jacobson's organ, or the vomeral nasal organ. Jacobson's organ is located inside the cat's nasal cavity and opens into the roof of the mouth. This organ can detect specific chemicals by using nerves that lead directly to the brain. That's not a regular sniffing, though. The odor receptors of Jacobson's organ aren't designed to catch ordinary smells. They detect chemicals that have no odor at all. In other words, cats can detect undetectable smells. It's not just this. Jacobson's organ increases the sense of smell. For instance, when kittens need to find their mother's milk, imagine there are 2 mother cats and 4 kittens. Kittens can distinguish their mother from the other grown-up cat with the help of their sense of smell. Now, when 2 people meet, they assess each other's body language. Cats can usually do this by sniffing each other's heads. This greeting releases pheromones that can tell a lot about one cat to the other, like what the other feline likes to eat or if they are healthy or not. They can even evaluate whether the other cat is happy or moody, all thanks to Jacobson's organ. Now, another fact about cats. Their nose has distinct ridges that look like a pattern. Similar to our fingerprints, every cat has a unique nose print. It can be used as a form of identification. Okay, cat, we can nail you for breaking the vase. We have your nose prints all over it. Now, do you want to cut a deal? Just tell us what you know about the dog and that chewed-up DVD. Dog lovers? No, I didn't forget about you. Here's a myth you've probably heard. Dogs are colorblind. But they aren't. However, it is true that the color range they can detect is limited compared to the spectrum humans can see. Their color palette consists mostly of yellows, blues, and violets. Our reds, greens, and oranges are not noticeable to them. Now this one is about turtles. These animals cannot leave their shells and get back whenever they want. In fact, they are completely attached to their shells. These shells grow with turtles, similar to the human skin. A turtle's shell consists of 50 bones. It also includes a skeleton with the spine and rib cage. So, they go on vacation with it. It's kind of like an RV that you can't get rid of.
You know these before and after makeovers? Well, if you saw a pic of an average human who lived about 1 million years ago compared to a pic of an average human who lives today, you'd be astonished. And get this, it's a makeover performed by Mother Nature. Like back in the day, the earliest human species were basically tiny with long arms and short legs. They needed a big digestive tract to handle all those plants they were chowing down on, and their rib cages were super wide to make room for all the organs breaking down their food. Time went by and some of these humans started adapting to hot climates, and they all got narrow and leggy to stay cool. They started eating meat and other quick-to-digest foods, which meant they could have smaller digestive tracts and use more energy for their tall bodies and big brains. And when humans spread to colder climates, they evolved short, wide bodies to conserve heat. But they still love their raw meat and cooked food, which could be easily processed in a short digestive tract. Check out this skeleton of an 8 to 9-year-old Homo erectus kid from East Africa. He was already 5 feet 3 inches tall and weighed 106 pounds. If he had grown up, he could have been almost 6 feet tall. His lean body was perfect for hot, dry environments. And then there were the Neanderthals, who were only about 5 foot 4 inches tall on average. They had short, broad bodies that were great for dealing with winter cold and even ice ages. Junk food is bad for our teeth, but did you know that it can also cause dental crowding? Back in the day, our ancestors had straight teeth with wisdom teeth. But thanks to processed diets and milling technologies, our jaws have shrunk and our teeth are now vying for limited space. So, if you want to avoid a mouthful of crooked teeth, stick to a less processed diet. As humans spread out and adapted to different environments, they changed their body shapes to survive. And as diets changed, so did bodies. But one thing's for sure, early humans were super active, with thicker and stronger bones than we have today. Nowadays, we're evolving sleeker and weaker bones thanks to our less physically demanding lifestyles. Yeah, it's cool to see how much we changed over time. Humans were cool back in the day, but they're probably even cooler now. You may not know it, but your bones are like supermodels. They're designed to be used all the time, and they look pretty good too. But guess what's even stronger? Your teeth. When you bite down, your teeth can exert a whopping 5,600 pounds of pressure per square inch. That's some serious chomping power. Speaking of bones, did you know that they're made up of water? Yep, about 25% of your bone mass is actually H2O. And here's another fun fact. Your eyes are like car engines. They need fluids to function properly, just like an engine needs gasoline. So when you blink up to 20,000 times a day, you're basically giving your eyes a windshield wash. Have you ever blushed and felt your cheeks turn red? Well, did you know that your stomach lining can blush too? When you blush, there's an increased blood flow in your body, and that includes your stomach lining. It turns red because it has plenty of blood vessels, and when there's more blood than usual, it shows. Now, we all know that plastic is bad for the environment, but did you know that we can actually digest it in tiny quantities? However, our digestive system can't handle grass. Grazing animals have special teeth and several stomachs to process raw leaves and grass, while we're stuck with just one stomach. We all have 2 super fast muscles that control our eyelids closing. They're actually the fastest muscles in our body, and they shut our eyes within a mere 0.1 second when triggered. And while we still don't know why we blink, we do know that women blink more often than men, and that we tend to blink in unison when watching a movie with friends. Maybe it's just a weird human thing. You flex that strong handshake and think it's all because of your gym grind? Ha! Turns out your pinky finger is the real MVP. No joke. Believe it or not, that little finger packs a punch and is responsible for 50% of your hand strength. Who knew the underdog could be such a powerhouse? Your toes are like 2 little homies that carry almost half of your body weight. And don't even listen to people who say you don't need them. Your toes are the most important guys when it comes to walking and pushing you forward. Our hair color is easily explained by genes. There are not more than 2% of people with natural red hair. They're followed by blondes, about 3%, and by all the varieties of brown shades, only about 11%. The vast majority goes to black hair, including very dark brown. Who knew that nails had a secret talent besides helping us pick up tiny objects and peel off stickers? They also give us a structure to press against so we know how firmly to hold anything. Talk about multi-talented. Move over, Rapunzel. It's not just our hair and nails that can grow. Our liver can regenerate itself from just 51% of its original size back to full size. But don't go damaging it too much, or you'll end up with scars. Did you know that the skin is the largest organ in our body? It makes up a whopping 15% of our total body weight. And if you shed more than your fluffy cat Snowball, don't worry, it's normal. We lose up to 9 pounds of skin cells every year. Gross, but fascinating. Who would have thought that tomatoes have more genes than humans? But don't worry, it's not the number of genes that matters. It's how they all work together. So go ahead and enjoy that tomato sauce on your pizza. Hold your nose the next time you eat and see how much your taste buds fade. It turns out that the nose is actually responsible for 75 to 95% of our taste perception. So don't underestimate the power of those sniffers. Keep your mouth hydrated or your taste buds won't work properly. Saliva triggers chemical reactions with enzymes that break down the food as soon as it enters your mouth. So drink up and savor those flavors. Forget about distinguishing between 10,000 smells. Recent research shows that we can actually differentiate between over 1 trillion smells. And not only that, but smells can evoke some distant memories too. So next time you catch a whiff of something familiar, take a moment to reminisce. When you're snoozing away, your sense of smell goes on vacation too. So even if your room smells like a dumpster fire, you won't even notice it. Sweet dreams, right? And speaking of dreams, did you ever wonder why some of them are in black and white, while others are like a rainbow explosion? Well, apparently it all depends on the TV you watched as a kid. So I guess your grandparents had some pretty boring dreams, huh? Now let's talk about listening to your heart. Not only is it a great metaphor for following your dreams, but it can also give you away if you're lying. Yeah, your heart rate starts racing like Usain Bolt when you're fibbing. Okay, brace yourself for this one. Even if you brush your teeth like a champ and use mouthwash like it's going out of style, your mouth is still a germ hotspot. Gross, right? But don't worry, most of those bacteria are actually good for us and keep the bad stuff away. But wait, there's more. The belly button is actually the second dirtiest place on our bodies. Yeah, I know, who knew? Since we don't really use it after we're born, it becomes a breeding ground for all kinds of icky stuff. It's got over 2,300 bacterial species living in there. So maybe it's time to give our belly button some extra TLC.
So let me tell you a tale about tails. There are some cases of humans being born with a tail. There are about 25 confirmed cases known to scientists. Those born with tails, though, won't have any real benefit other than what the tailbone does for balance anyway. The tails have no function other than physically being there, as they have no bones. The tails only consist of nerves, vessels, and muscles. Now, do you find that you're a picky eater? Do you think that coriander tastes like soap? Or you can't stand pineapple on pizza? Really? Well, this may be due to what kind of taster you are. Up to 30% of people are considered super tasters and will experience different levels of enjoyment or disappointment from their foods. Food that is bitter to the super taster will likely be sweet to average tasters, who make up 40% of people. There are also 30% of people who are non-tasters and won't find anything too exciting. I guess you just have to develop a taste for that. The vast majority of people have brown eyes. About 79% of the world population share this eye color. Once, all humans only had the brown pigmentation, until around 6,000 to 10,000 years ago, and I wasn't around then, when humans migrated to Northern Europe. A mutation occurred, helping the eyes to adapt to the change of light. Blue eyes became the most common of the mutated coloration, and all of them today can be traced back to one ancestor from Europe. His name was Chadwick Abernathy. His friends called him Chad, and he was a boulder mover at Stonehenge. Well, not really. Today, blue eyes make up around 10% of the human population. Amber and hazel eyes each take up 5% respectively. Gray eyes are up to 3%, and the rarest of eye colors are green ones, consisting of only 2%. Rarer still is heterochromia iridum, where both eyes are of different colors. It's inherited and also affected by other genetic factors. Only 1% of the human population have this incredibly rare attribute. Do you have a small hole in the front of your ear above the ear canal? This is a preauricular pit. During the first 6 weeks of a child's development, long before being born, the auricle, which is the external part of your ear, will develop. The preauricular pit forms when the auricle doesn't fully fuse. This occurs in less than 1% of humans. Although there's speculation that having this little hole is the remnant of gills that we once had from our seafaring ancestors, there is nothing solid to confirm this theory. If you can lick your elbow easily or touch your thumb to your forearm, congratulations, you're among the minority of people. But some people bring flexibility to the next level. This condition is called hypermobility. It allows rare individuals to twist their bodies into weird positions, just like a snake, putting their head between their feet, doing a back bridge, and all sorts of splits. But in some cases, hypermobility can increase sensitivity because such people have a larger medulla. This brain area is responsible for processing emotions. 90% of people are right-handed and only 10% are left-handed. Yes, that adds up. But there's also a very small percentage of those who can use both hands equally well, including writing, drawing, and doing any tasks. Naturally, ambidextrous people account for only 1% of the entire population, which is about 70 million people. If you want to check whether you're one of them, try to write the same phrase with both hands, or draw a circle first with your right and then with your left hand. If there's no difference, congrats! By the way, these exercises are very good for balancing the hemispheres of the brain, regardless of which hand is your dominant one. And if you have 3 hands, well, that's a different video. Your fingernails grow faster on your dominant hand. In other words, if you write with your right hand, it's all right. And you'll have to trim those nails more often. Your fingernails also grow faster in the summer and during the day. Your skeleton will renew itself completely within 10 years, and yes, without surgery. An adult uses around 200 muscles just to make one step. So don't tell me I don't work out enough. Every minute, your body sheds more than 3,000 skin cells. It's almost 200,000 skin cells per hour and more than 9 pounds per year. Hey, it's the Shedding Skin Cells Weight Loss Plan. Ooh, sign up. But hey, don't worry, you still have about 300 million skin cells at any given moment. Plus, your skin completely renews itself every 28 to 30 days. The liver is the only human organ that can regenerate completely. As little as 25% of the original liver weight can get back to its full size. Some people can hear their eyeballs moving inside the eye sockets. Wow, that must be no fun. Unlike other parts of your body, your ears and nose never stop growing. Wow, that must be no fun. Your skin wrinkles if you stay in the water for too long, but not because it absorbs water. When your body's wet, wrinkled fingers and toes provide you with a better grip. You know, like when the treads on your car tires grip the road better when they're new. Your eyes are an amazing instrument. They can distinguish between 10 million different colors. Your brain uses more than 20% of your body's energy even when you're resting. When you're asleep, it still consumes almost as much power as when you're awake. It also burns around 330 calories per day at that. An adult person has about 25% of all their bones in the feet. Most of them are tiny but crucial. If these bones are out of alignment, so is the rest of the body. You breathe around 20,000 times a day, I've counted. Try not to stop. I actually set a personal best record today for consecutive days breathing, and I plan to top that tomorrow. Human bones are a real paradox. They're almost 5 times stronger than a steel bar with the same width, but can fracture on impact and are rather brittle. If a person has anosmia, also called smell blindness, they can't distinguish and detect smells, but they can still be smelly. Sorry. You start feeling thirsty when water loss is 1% of your body weight. More than 5% and you may faint. Water loss that's bigger than 10% of the body weight and dehydration can end a person, if you know what I mean. The strongest muscle in your body, based on its weight, is your jaw muscle. Yes, mine is way overdeveloped. At any moment, 50,000 cells in your body are getting replaced by new ones. Boy, that sounds like a company I used to work for. By the end of their life, the average person can recall up to 150 trillion pieces of information, except for where they left their car keys. Even if fingerprints are badly damaged, they still go back with their original pattern. Don't believe me? Hey, give it a whirl. Your brain's memory capacity is equivalent to about 4 terabytes on a hard drive, which is more than 8 million photos. People are the only living creatures that can naturally sleep on their backs. Even apes usually sleep in a sitting position, leaning on something. Don't wake them up. Your longest bone is your thigh bone, not your funny bone. And the tiniest one is in the ear. It's shorter than a grain of rice. Do you feel ticklish when you tickle yourself? Normally you wouldn't, unless someone else tickles you. It happens because the cerebellum area of the brain, which monitors movements, predicts the sensations caused by your own movements. Then it sends a signal to other parts of the nervous system to cancel these sensations. But some rare individuals can actually feel ticklish on their own. If you're not among them, touching a new texture that the brain doesn't yet recognize or using a scalp massager can help to excite your nerves and bring relaxation. Hey, you can give it a tickle test. If you want to check out the work of your vestibular system, try this simple trick. Stand on one foot and close your eyes. Most people lose balance at least during the first attempt. Your vestibular system includes many organs and systems throughout the body. Together, they allow your body to stay in balance in different positions. This system includes the inner ear and vision, which is why keeping balance is much easier in silence while your eyes are open. Can you wiggle your ears intentionally? Are you popular at parties for doing that? Congratulations! Around 22% of people on the earth are capable of wiggling one ear. As for moving both ears at once, only 18% can do that. Ear wiggling used to be a common thing for our distant ancestors. Scientists believe they could perform a variety of movements with their ears. The group of muscles responsible for wiggling are called the auriculars. Mostly don't need it today. But some people claim that everyone can learn to move their ears. It only takes time and practice. Unfortunately, we still cannot acquire this classy habit of twitching an ear toward a sound source, as dogs and cats do. Nor can we actually lend an ear to someone. They're challenging to remove and reattach.
Take a look at your fingernails. Are they a bit ridged? There are a bunch of reasons why that might happen, and it has nothing to do with your manicure skills. To start with, know that your fingernails might be a good indicator of any health problems, but those vertical ridges are normal, especially when you get older. It's your skin's way of showing it needs to slow down. New skin cells don't get produced as rapidly as they used to, so you get this texture on your fingernails. However, if this is just one of many other weird symptoms, it might be more than just a sign of aging. For instance, it may be a sign of a chemical imbalance, which can give you vertical ridges, but also make your nails look spoon-shaped. Don't put stuff in your ear. You know that. Even with Q-tips, you should always be gentle when using it. Otherwise, you could end up causing more harm. What's even more interesting is that sticking things in your ear can trigger a weird coughing mechanism, also known as the Arnold's ear cough reflex. Turns out that the ear has a say in coughing because of the vagus nerve, this long nerve road from the brain to the belly. It taps the ear, handles the voice box, and takes a detour to the stomach. This nerve runs all sorts of daily activities without us being able to control it, from speaking to eating, and even bathroom breaks. Now, the part that connects it with the ear is Arnold's nerve. This one deals with touch sensations. Stick something in your ear and it can get triggered. And it's precisely that tickle sensation that can make you cough. Think of it as a brain blip, tricking your body into believing it's got something in the throat. You end up coughing as a way to kick out the imaginary intruder. You might be missing a muscle in your arm too, but it's okay. You are most likely born that way, and you're also one of many. It's called the palmaris longus tendon, and about 14% of the population doesn't have it. Here's how you can test it out. Gently flex your wrist and touch your pinky with your thumb. If you can see a little tendon protruding on the inside of your wrist, you've got it. If you don't, that's fine. For the most part, this muscle doesn't increase the performance of our arm. Here's another little experiment you can safely try at home. Check which one of your nostrils is your favorite, even though you probably didn't even know you had one. Stand in front of a mirror, breathe out through your nose, and watch how the fog forms. Sure, there will be 2 marks on the mirror, but for most people, one's gonna be bigger. That's because we usually breathe more from one nostril at a time. Some doctors say that about 75% of our breath comes from one single nostril. It also switches sides during the day, in a process called the nasal cycle. So why not both nostrils at once? Well, it's generally believed to be all about moisture, preventing one side from getting too dry. The only time you might be able to notice the difference is when you're trying to fall asleep. Lie on your right side, and you'll see that gravity makes one part of your nose work harder. Speaking of sleep, whenever you're trying to get some rest at a new place, only a part of your brain will actually get some quality sleep. That's because our brains are wired to remain a bit more alert when we're in an unfamiliar place. This discovery explains why we often wake up feeling groggy after a night in a new apartment. This is a feature we share with birds and sea creatures who can half sleep, keeping an eye out. Back in the day, sleep researchers noticed this and named it the first night effect. Whenever someone participated in a sleep study, they noticed the quality of their rest was so bad they had to trash the data. But after the first night, it seemed to level up. We do this because back in ancient times, the chances of getting attacked by predators during the night were way higher. So it made sense to keep that part of the brain on guard for any dangers. Unfortunately, there's no switch to flip this off. So after a night in a new place, just know you'll need way more coffee. And maybe hit that subscribe button to stay updated with our newest videos for a nice pick-me-up in those snoozy days. It's possible that each time you're getting ready for a workout, your heart is already acting up, even though you aren't technically moving your muscles yet. That's because of an effect called anticipatory rise. In simple terms, it's like your brain is sending directions to your heart, telling it to get ready. These directions come in the form of chemicals, like noradrenaline and adrenaline. It's helpful because that kick in heart rate means more blood pumping out every minute, which is good for your muscles. The increased blood flow delivers oxygen and prepares your muscles to put in the required effort. The better shape your heart's in, the smoother this whole process goes. All of us have heard stories about regular people being able to lift heavy objects in stressful situations. You know, like a mom being able to lift a car to save her kid. Some are calling it hysterical strength. And it can't really be tested out in a lab because you can't just fake a sense of imminent danger. It's more about real, spontaneous moments that somehow trigger this hidden superpower. Well, even though it sounds like people are lifting a ton of weight, they're not that strong. Take the classic car lift scenario. You'd think they're lifting the whole car, but it's more like lifting a part of it. Most wheels are still on the ground. Plus, cars aren't evenly heavy everywhere. The engine's the densest part, not the area that's often being lifted. As for the hysterical strength, it's more about realizing we're stronger than we think. Our muscles usually use the least effort needed for everyday tasks. But when we need to go all out, we can recruit more muscle power. You see, our bodies are very efficient. Why use all our muscles when lifting a coffee cup? Even when we feel exhausted, chances are we're not. Researchers say we might only use 60 to 80% of our muscle strength, and that's reserved for top athletes. Apart from efficiency, our brains also don't go full power on our muscles because of a built-in safety mechanism. If we used all our strength, we could easily hurt ourselves. The simple game of peekaboo isn't just a fun pastime for babies. They love it so much because it can help with their development. You see, it's not just about covering and uncovering faces. It helps them better master the skill of visual tracking. It's also useful for understanding the concept of object permanence. Just because they can't see something, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gone forever. This knowledge that objects exist even if they're out of sight will increase their problem-solving skills when they get older. Playing peekaboo is also a good way to exercise various positive emotions. They go from surprise to anticipation to excitement and happiness. Some say they can do just fine with just 4 hours of sleep every night. But scientists say most of us adults need a good 6 to 8 hours. And the reality is that anything less than this average can lead to serious sleep deprivation. That is, of course, if you're not one of those super sleepers. These people are magical beings who thrive on less than 6 hours of sleep each night. They function properly on that little, but they also naturally wake up after just 4 or 5 hours. Only 1 to 3% of the population can claim that title. Also, no, it's genetic. You can't train yourself to be one.
It may seem there's nothing exciting about human bones, unless you find them in your closet. But normally, they're hidden under multiple layers of cells and tissues. They're dense, hard, and unassuming. But are they? Your bones not only protect your internal organs and help you move, but also store fat and minerals. Your blood cells are produced there. Most of the bone tissue isn't even solid. How about going on a journey through your bones to see it with your own eyes? But you'll need to get through several layers of other tissues first. To start with, you'll have to squeeze through the skin, your largest organ. Be careful, it's a labyrinth of hair follicles, sweat glands, nerve endings, and blood vessels where you can easily get lost. Right under the skin, there's a layer of fat. Its main purpose is to keep your body warm. This layer consists of tiny plastic bags, each with a drop of fat, and you may have a tough time navigating around these bubbles. After passing this obstacle course, you're inside your muscles. Their cells, fibrous and long, are always ready to spring into action, helping you transport your body wherever you need. Moving through this layer of tissue is tricky because such cells form bundles, and that's what makes your muscles so strong. Imagine taking a bunch of rubber bands and stretching them. Hard? Your muscle tissue's tough like that. Finally, you reach your destination and see a thin, dense membrane. It's the outer surface of a bone. This layer consists mostly of connective tissue made up of proteins. You also spot numerous blood vessels. Their tiny perpendicular branches sneak deeper into the bone to feed bone cells. You notice that these branches lie in minuscule channels. The inside of the surface layer is filled with stem cells. They're the busiest in childhood and become less active when a person grows up. But if a bone is damaged, they jump back into action and get down to repairing it. Luckily, all your bones are intact. But if there was a fracture, you'd see nearby vessels bleeding and forming a thick lump around the injury. In about 2 days, the area would be surrounded by countless bone-producing cells. They would begin to change, turning into different kinds of cells and forming new bone between the ends of the fractured one. Anyway, it's time to move further toward your bone's hardest part, the outer layer, which is smooth and solid. Because of its density, it's also called compact bone. This kind of bone is the reason why X-rays, which can normally pass through nearly anything, including your body's soft tissues, can hardly get through your bones. This part makes up 80% of your total bone mass. It's incredibly hard to squeeze through the compact bone because it consists of numerous microscopic columns. Inside these cylinders, there are even more bone-producing cells. And in the middle, there's a central canal that connects the bone's nerve fibers and blood vessels. The cylinders go along the bone and help to prevent it from bending or fracturing. Once you get through this super hard layer, the picture around changes dramatically. You're in spongy bone. Boing boing. True to its name, it looks like a sponge or a honeycomb that consists of tiny needles. This bone tissue is way less dense than the compact bone, more flexible, and also much lighter. You notice that the spongy tissue is only near the ends of the bone you're exploring. It means you're inside one of the long bones, whose structure is a bit different from others. In the middle, it has what looks like a tunnel to you. It's made of compact bone that surrounds a cavity filled with a special substance. It's called yellow bone marrow, and it's rich in fat. But it's time to return to the spongy bone. It's mostly found at the ends of long bones, inside vertebrae, and near joints. This sponge-like tissue has open spaces in it. They're filled with red bone marrow, which produces blood cells. While traveling further through the human skeleton, you discover that it consists of 5 types of bones. Long. They're much longer than they are wide. For example, your thigh or upper arm bones and your toes and fingers. Flat. They're thin and slightly curved. These bones are like a layered cake, spongy bone sandwiched between 2 parallel layers of compact bone. Your ribs and most of the bones in your skull are flat bones. Short bones. Shaped like cubes, they consist of a thin layer of compact bone around spongy insides. Short bones can be found in your wrists and ankles. Sesamoid. These are bones surrounded by tendons, and their main purpose is to hold tendons away from joints. There are numerous bones in your feet, hands, and knees, including the kneecap. These bones got such a name because they look like grains of wheat. Irregular bones. These don't fit into any category because their shape is too complicated. Those are most of the bones of your face and some of your skull. An adult skeleton's made up of 206 bones, and each of them has its own function. Interestingly, people are born with nearly twice as many bones, but as you grow up, these small bones fuse together and form larger ones as a person matures. If one bone's broken, those around it can't work properly either. It usually takes about 12 weeks for a bone to heal. The smallest bone in your body is dozens of times smaller than a penny. This bone's called the stapes and is located in your middle ear. The tiny thing weighs as much as 2 sesame seeds. You get a new skeleton every 10 years, because every year, 10% of your bone's mineral content gets renewed. The average person walks 1 to 3 million steps per year. That's why bones have to be so resilient, otherwise they wouldn't cope with the pressure. Your longest and strongest bone is in your leg. The femur, that's how it's called, runs from your hip to your knee. Even though your teeth are part of the skeletal system, they don't count as bones. More than half of all the bones in your body are in your hands and feet. The only bone in your body that's not connected to another is the tongue bone. It's a V-shaped bone at the base of your tongue that holds it in place. 1% of people are born with a 13th rib. Your bones aren't white. Their color is rather yellow or pinkish from the outside and deep red inside. That's because of the blood vessels in and around them. If you fracture a bone, ow! It'll heal on its own by producing new bone cells. A cast will only help it heal straight. People have known how to deal with broken bones for ages. In ancient Egypt, around 1600 years BCE, they realigned fractured bones and bandaged them with linen. Now, you can't control your bones. You can only tell your muscles attached to your bones where to move. Your bones reach their maximum density at the age of 30. Only 10% of the world's animals, including humans, are vertebrates, meaning they have a skeletal system. A coating of special tissue called cartilage covers a bone and prevents it from rubbing directly against another one. The enamel covering your teeth is even stronger than your bones. It protects the delicate tissue and nerves underneath. The biggest joint in your body is actually your knee. It has to be large to connect 3 equally big bones: the femur, going from your hip to your knee, the kneecap, and the shin bone. Some joints hardly move or don't move whatsoever. Those are between your teeth, inside the skull, and between the first pair of ribs. Bones store minerals, for example, calcium and phosphate. They can be released in your bloodstream when necessary. And finally, the so-called funny bone isn't a bone at all. It's a nerve that runs inside your elbow. When you hit it, you feel sharp, piercing pain. The upper arm bone the nerve runs by is called the humerus, but the pain is clearly not humorous. It can be funny when it happens to someone else, though.
Your body actually glows. It emits a super faint light that's at its strongest at around 3 to 4 p.m. The sad news is that this glowing is 1,000 times less intense than what your eyes can see. Humans are the only animals that have chins. Even our closest genetic relatives, gorillas and chimps, lack this small piece of bone that extends forward from the jaw. Their lower jaws slant down and back from their front teeth. Scientists still haven't figured out this mystery. The opinions about why people are made this way differ. Some researchers think chins help us chew our food. Others are sure they have something to do with speaking. A few of us think it's simply a special place to grow a goatee. The most abundant element in the human body is oxygen at 65%, but it also contains lithium, cobalt, gold, and uranium. The rarest one of all is radium. On average, humans yawn 20 times a day, partially spontaneously, for example, when you're tired, but sometimes when someone yawns near you. Scientists think it could be a thing called social mirroring. Usually, when animals mimic each other, they recognize some action as useful, so they decide to do it too. With humans, it happens when someone crosses legs, laughs, smiles at you, or your stomach acid breaks down the foods you eat and turns them into easy-to-digest particles. It also stops nasty pathogens and microbes that could make you sick. In fact, your stomach acid is so strong that it can even dissolve bone and metal. Don't start munching down on your soda cans, though. That's probably not going to end well. Your brain has more than 86 billion nerve cells. They're all joined together by 100 trillion connections. That's even more than the number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. There's a good chance you can guess someone's name based on how they look. Researchers showed portrait photos to a group of people, with 4 names written below. They were asked to choose the right name for this or that person. The law of chance says you'll guess it 25% of the time, but in this research, people got the names correct at a rate of 25 to 40%, and there were more than 94,000 faces shown. Let's say a man is called Bob. People will expect for him to have a rounder face than Tim. They expect Bob to be more jolly and ready to hang out with people. It has to affect his facial appearance in some way. A woman called Catherine can be considered more serious, studious, and concentrated. That could eventually influence her facial muscles as well. When ancient Romans flexed their biceps, they thought their muscles looked like mice. That's why the word muscle translates as little mouse in Latin. Your left lung is smaller than the right one because it shares space with your heart. Experts used to think that we can only distinguish 10,000 smells. In fact, a recent study found human beings can recognize 1 trillion smells. Millennials, or people born between 1981 and 1996, are more forgetful than older people. The main cause of their forgetfulness comes from higher levels of stress. So come on, dude, chill out, okay? Some scientists think that the purpose of fingerprints is a better grip, but others believe they're there to help wick water off them and allow the skin to stretch when needed to protect it from damage. There's also a theory saying that fingerprints improve the sense of touch. Hot coffee can taste better than cold coffee. Your taste bud receptors are most sensitive when your food is at or a little bit above room temperature. Hot coffee can then seem less bitter because taste buds that detect bitterness are more sensitive when the coffee is cold. The biggest molecule in the human body is the chromosome 1. A human cell has 23 chromosome pairs, and each chromosome 1 is made of 10 billion atoms. You inhale 25 sextillion molecules in just one breath. That's 25 followed by 21 zeros. When you're walking faster, at some point, you'll feel the natural urge to start jogging. Your body wants to have a stable state, whether you're running or walking. So, if you're walking fast, it will unconsciously force you to start running. One theory is, we use more energy when walking faster than running, so that's one of the ways the body saves energy. Your pinky is a powerful little thing. Without it, your hand would lose a significant part of its power. Your index and middle fingers cooperate with your thumb to grab and pinch, and your pinky, together with your ring finger, provides grip strength. The fattiest organ in your body is your brain. Fat makes up at least 60% of its dry weight. This quality got the brain to the Guinness World Records. The organ contains around 25% of your body's cholesterol, which is vital for the brain's well-being. Your bones are 4 times harder than concrete. The strongest bone in your body is the femur. It can support up to 30 times the weight of a grown-up person. Even crazier is that our bones are made up of composite material, meaning they're both hard and elastic at the same time. Your fingernails grow twice as fast as your toenails. It would take 15.5 months for your toenails to grow 1 inch, but only 7 months for your fingernails to get this long. The outer layer of your skin is thicker on your feet than on other parts of your body. The heart has its own electrical system and can continue beating even when it's disconnected from the body. The vessels in your body are long enough to circle the earth twice or more. The idea that we use only 10% of our brains is a myth. At any given time, you use almost 100%. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to perform simple tasks, like drink a cup of coffee. More than 70% of your brain consists of water, and it needs 20% of your body's oxygen supply. The average lifespan of one eyebrow hair is 4 months. The body of a 110-pound person contains 40 tablespoons of salt. If you ironed out all the wrinkles in your brain and laid it flat, it would be the size of a pillowcase. The brain wrinkles as there's not a lot of room in the skull, so it folds over itself as it grows. By the way, don't do that pillowcase thing with your brain. Trust me on this one. We spend 40% of our life with our eyes closed. Most of that time is when we're asleep. But don't forget to count blinking too, or while driving. You produce around 85,000 pints of spit in your lifetime. That's enough saliva to fill around 500 bathtubs. Enough said. The highest blood flow isn't actually in your heart, and it's not in your brain either. It's in your kidneys. It's super hard for us to grasp just how small an atom is. But think of it this way. Your body is made up of a staggering 7 octillion atoms. Yeah, doesn't that look like a 7 being chased by a whole mob of zeros? For adults, the blood makes up 7 to 8% of the total body weight. About 55% of your blood is liquid plasma. The rest is red and white blood cells and platelets. They form clots and prevent bleeding. You can't swallow and breathe at the same time. The food you swallow and the air you breathe go down the same part of your throat at first. Only a bit deeper does the passage split into the esophagus for food and liquid and the trachea for air. When you swallow, your airway gets automatically closed off. This prevents you from accidentally inhaling food, but occasionally it still happens. There's a name for the growling sound that your stomach makes when you're hungry. It's called borborygmi. It takes 6 to 8 hours for food to travel through your stomach and small intestine. That's because your body is trying to absorb all its nutrients. The idea that the tongue has flavor zones is a myth. All taste buds can detect 5 tastes, but some receptors are more responsive than others. Human beings are the only animals that willingly delay sleep. Just make sure you get enough.
You're out for a couple of miles with an ingrown toenail. Ouch! Now, think about those folks who tackle extreme races and marathons. To run their best, they need top-notch training and solid shoes. But there's one more thing. Perfectly trimmed toenails. And trust me, keeping those nails in check is an art in itself, because there are many rules on how to do that right. To get ahead of nagging toenail issues, some athletes choose to have their toenails removed altogether, which helps them dodge problems like bruising and ingrown nails. Take Charlotte Vassarelli, an ultra runner who had to say goodbye to both of her big toenails after relentless pain had been affecting her stride. The procedure takes about 45 minutes. A podiatrist will numb the toe, apply a tourniquet, and carefully remove the nail right down to the root. They then use carbolic acid to stop it from growing back. Recovery is pretty swift, but sometimes it can take a few tries to ensure the nail is completely gone. Now, let's say you've accidentally lost your toenail. And since you aren't a professional athlete, you decide to help it grow back. It will take you up to 1.5 years to fully recover. They grow 3 times more slowly than fingernails, only pushing around 1.6 millimeters a month. Plus, the older we get, the slower the process gets. With age, our toenails thicken and round out, so the growth rate slows down. It's not that everybody's feet smell bad, but if you ever notice someone's tootsies stink, here's an explanation for you. Our feet have around 250,000 sweat glands. For comparison, our armpits have 10 times fewer, only around 25,000. However, it's not the sweat that makes the feet smell. Bacteria are in charge of the stench. The primary reason is oftentimes lack of ventilation and fungus that thrive in wet environments, such as sweaty feet. Farts and burps are just a normal part of being human. When we chow down, our small intestines don't get around to digesting all foods perfectly, and gas is a byproduct of a digestive process, when bacteria break down leftovers in your gut. All that gas eventually has to escape, which means, on average, we let out about 12 to 25 farts a day. And don't worry, holding in gas won't affect you seriously. Sure, it can lead to a bit of tummy trouble, but being polite at dinner won't mess with your health in any serious way. Gross as it is, pus actually tells you that your body is doing its job. That gooey stuff, whether it's white, yellow, green, or even brown, is just a buildup of white blood cells fighting off an infection. It means your immune system is kicking in like it should. Of course, if you see pus after major surgery, that's a flag to reach out to your doctor. But for smaller injuries, pus is just your body's way of healing, even if it's super yucky. You can even call it the white cell's precious juice, if you will. Can you give yourself a pinch without feeling anything at all? Go ahead, grab a bit of skin on your elbow and give it a good squeeze. Surprisingly, it won't feel as bad as you'd think. That's because different spots in your skin have different kinds of nerve endings. Your elbow skin is like the superhero of skin. It's tough and has fewer pain receptors. On the flip side, the more delicate parts of your body are packed with nerve endings, making them sensitive and a bit more scream-worthy when you accidentally bump into something. You can munch on anything without actually tasting it. All you have to do is pinch your nose and take a big bite of that not-so-appetizing meal. Bet it doesn't taste like much. The thing is, our taste buds only detect 5 flavors: sweet, sour, bitter, salty, and that savory umami, the flavor you get from various types of meat. Still, it's not your tongue, but your sense of smell that really brings the flavor party to life. If you hold your nose, you cut off the aroma and leave your brain to rely only on those 5 basic tastes. That's a great life hack when you gotta eat something you don't like but have to. If you're snoozing away and someone blows a puff of air at your eyes, they won't even budge. But if you're awake, your eyes are gonna flutter like crazy. So next time you want to test if someone's really sleeping or not, try this little trick. You might notice that one nostril feels more stuffed up when you have a cold, but that's completely normal. It's not unusual for one nostril to be more active while the other takes a little break, and they actually switch roles throughout the day. This is known as the nasal cycle. Typically, one nostril does about 75% of breathing for a couple of hours before the other one takes over. Since this cycle is controlled by your body's nervous system, you can enhance this natural pattern by consciously switching nostrils with each breath, which can help you relax. It might seem a bit goofy at first, but it could be a fun trick to get your kid to try when they need to calm down. The bones in your feet account for about 25% of all the bones in your body. There are 206 bones in total, and each foot has 26 of them, so that's 52 bones for your 2 feet combined. If you do the math, that's roughly 25.24% of your total bone count. Genetically, humans are like 99.9% the same. But not all of our genes are actually human. Out of the roughly 20,000 genes in our DNA, about 8% come from ancient viruses. Plus, another 40% is made up of repetitive sequences that scientists think might also be viral. These viral genes have the ability to move around and replicate themselves, which could be linked to some health conditions. So, turns out you're barely half human when it comes to your genetic makeup. Believe it or not, it's rare, but some people can actually grow teeth in their ovaries. These weird growths are called teratomas, and they can contain all sorts of stuff, like hair follicles, skin, muscle, and more. The biggest teratoma ever recorded was a whopping 18 by 10 inches, and it was taken out of a 74-year-old woman. Since the brain doesn't have pain receptors, doctors can do brain surgeries with patients awake and sometimes even chatting. It might sound like a scene from a horror movie, but having patients alert during the procedure actually helps surgeons avoid causing any serious harm. It's a bit unsettling to think about, though. Surprise! Your brain is the fattiest organ in your body. It's about 60% fat, and that's a good thing. Those fatty acids are essential for optimal brain function. Imbalances could up your risk for many health issues. Still, when it comes to having kids, your seemingly fat brain gets smaller as if it's on a diet. Moms and dads experience shrinkage in areas tied to social cues and decision-making. These changes are totally normal and help with parenting. However, no matter if you have kids or not, your brain power still declines by the time you hit 24. Studies show that cognitive speed starts to drop, and you keep losing about 15% every 15 years after. So if you're nearly 40, don't be surprised if things take a bit longer to process. Your ring finger can give away your marital status, but it also has some interesting secrets even before you tie the knot. Back in 1998, evolutionary biologist John Manning found out that if your ring finger is longer, it might mean you had higher levels of prenatal testosterone. Since then, several studies have backed this up, showing that folks with longer ring fingers tend to excel in sports. If you've just checked your palms and your fingers are really long, don't be too fast to judge. Not all scientists agree with that. However, there's some proof that men with longer ring fingers can be a bit angrier than other people. Maybe that's why boxing gloves resemble mittens, to keep you guessing about who the real champ is.
2, 1, 0, all engine running.
I can hardly imagine having to travel long distances without wheeled luggage, but these ones didn't pop until 1970. If you think about it, this means that the astronauts that went to the moon actually had to physically carry their baggage in the spaceship. A lot of other daily tasks are different in space. Since there's no washing machine in the International Space Station, how do astronauts do their laundry? The short answer is they don't. They just load up the dirty clothes into a resupply ship, then let them fall back into the atmosphere where it's incinerated. Our atmosphere contains astronaut underwear dust if you think about it. For their shower routines, astronauts had to go back to the old-fashioned way of bathing too. On the space station, they do not shower since the force of gravity is different and water doesn't flow as it should. So, they use liquid soap, water, and rinseless shampoo. They first squeeze the liquid soap and water from pre-made water pouches onto their skin. Next, they open the rinseless soap and add a little water to clean their hair. Towels are then used to wipe off the excess water, which is really precious in space. To make sure they recycle it, an airflow system nearby quickly evaporates excess water. All that water recycling is thanks to an invention called the Water Reclamation System, or the WRS. It was developed back in 2008 and helped solve water issues on the ISS. Up until then, water had to be imported from our planet on a regular basis, which was really expensive. What the WRS does is it gathers all the wastewater on board, the astronauts' leftover bathing water, humidity, condensation on the walls and windows, and then passes it through a series of filters. The resulting liquid is purified and great for drinking and washing. We even got the now famous microwave because of this space mission. When Neil Armstrong and his team landed back on Earth after their first visit to the moon, specialists thought they might have been exposed to dangerous space particles. The result? They had to be placed in planetary protection quarantine on their return, as soon as their space capsule safely splashed down in the Pacific Ocean on July 24, 1969. That specific 21-day quarantine for the Apollo 11 astronauts is one of the reasons why we have microwaves in our kitchens today. When they first returned from the moon, they initially spent their first few days in a mobile quarantine facility, or MQF. Sure, the MQF featured comfortable chairs, bunks, a toilet, and a shower, but it didn't leave a lot of space for fancy cooking. Since there was no room for a standard oven or grill, and to also reduce the potential fires that might have happened, NASA had to get creative. That's how the original countertop microwave oven was developed, to easily help astronauts get their meals without the hustle of a fully equipped kitchen. These days, you can see that first microwave in a museum in Oakland, California. The Apollo 11 crew also carried with them 12 Hasselblad cameras. They were intended to snap those valuable images of the moon's surface for all of us to see. So where are they today? Well, they were left there on the moon. Armstrong and his crew decided that the cameras were too heavy to carry back, especially since they wanted to bring back home over 50 pounds worth of rock samples. They did bring the film back though. These days, the International Space Station has way more advanced technology, like this zero-gravity 3D printer. It's responsible for making a socket wrench, which was the first tool ever made away from the planet's surface. The whole point of this 3D printer is to source square parts for any equipment that might get broken on board. This way, astronauts won't need to keep returning back to Earth to fix their gadgets, making it cheaper and faster. It may sound like a vacation, but did you ever think about what would happen if you never got out of bed? In the first 24 hours, one of the first things to see a change would be your lungs. Without gravity to pull them down into their standard position, the lower part of your lungs will crease. Coughing every now and then might help to reduce the effects. Going further, we'd start to lose small amounts of bone density each week, making our skeleton more fragile. It's also the reason why astronauts who can go for months without Earth's gravity at times need to move around for a minimum of 2 hours a day and make sure they have sufficient calcium in their diet. For this particular reason, they use a cool device called the Advanced Resistive Exercise Device, or ARED. The conditions on the International Space Station not only affect the bones of personnel on board, but their muscle mass. And some of the changes that happen to their bodies could be permanent if they're not careful. So, NASA needs to keep its astronauts on a strict exercise program. Because you can't work out normally in microgravity, and ARED comes in to fix this. It's pretty much a resistance machine that helps astronauts to weightlift in a weightless environment. It also features a treadmill with a twist. It straps astronauts in for running. People visiting the International Space Station for longer periods of time can also develop a condition called spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome. The weightlessness in space causes the fluids in the body to shift towards the head. This may be the reason why the optical nerve gets swollen. I'll spare you the rest of the medical terms, but one of the most uncomfortable side effects is that most astronauts get blurry vision. To help with this, scientists developed a pair of contact lenses. And you look at pictures of astronauts wearing this device, it does seem pretty cool. For the time being, these lenses are just meant to measure how our eyes adapt to microgravity conditions. With the help of that data, we might be able to develop future gadgets that could combat the consequences. These contacts may not come with laser vision or holograms just yet, but another institution is looking to develop some pretty cool pairs of eyeglasses that might get closer. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration is looking at ways to manufacture computerized glasses that can help astronauts repair a ship or conduct an experiment in space. These glasses could help NASA upload how-to information guides onto the glasses directly so that astronauts could work without printed instruction manuals. Printed information is not only difficult to work with in times of emergency, but it's often not enough. So, astronauts literally need to dial back at the base for more information on how to fix a problem. Since a call from Mars to Earth can take up to 20 minutes to connect, you can imagine how helpful these glasses might be in real time. NASA initially tested this approach by strapping laptops to astronauts' heads. It soon became obvious they needed a better suited device. These glasses would use the same microchips we have in our smartphones. A gas leak can be a bad thing even in your own kitchen, let alone on the International Space Station. To make sure this problem doesn't happen, astronauts wear a system strapped to the front of their suits. It's just about the size of a shoebox. This device helps detect leaking water, seeping rocket fuel, or escaping oxygen. When living on the International Space Station, you might think astronauts need some sort of special clothing. The reality will surprise you. Inside the space shuttle, both the temperature and humidity are controlled, so astronauts can live there just like they would on Earth. Apart from those orange flight suits you often see in pictures that are needed during launch and re-entry, astronauts don't have special clothes. They just use the same clothes they'd use if they were on our planet.
There's some weird tickling in your nose. Oh no, you're gonna sneeze. It'll sound thunderous in the complete silence of the conference room. Not to draw unwanted attention, tickle the roof of your mouth with your tongue. 5 to 10 seconds is usually enough to get rid of the urge to sneeze. Or you can pinch your nose at the nostrils, like you do when something nearby smells bad. Pinching the bridge of your nose just below your eyebrows can help too. But whatever you do, don't look at bright lights. About 1/3 of people sneeze when they look at the sun, or even a light bulb. Imagine you're talking to someone, and they just wouldn't let you get a word in. If you think it's rude to interrupt them, drop whatever you have in your hands, if it's not your phone or laptop, that is. Or you can pretend to be clumsy and knock something over. In any case, the chances are it'll make them realize they've been talking for too long. Getting stressed out before an important event is a perfectly normal reaction. But it can make you absent-minded, and you won't be able to concentrate. If you realize you've become tense, squeeze the muscles of your face, arms, and shoulders. Clench your fists. Now, relax and take a deep breath. You're ready to tackle any problem on your way. Your throat's tickling. It doesn't seem to be too much of a bother, but once this annoying sensation starts, it doesn't let you concentrate on anything else. To get rid of it, scratch your ear. This way, you'll stimulate the nerves there. Your body's likely to react with a muscle spasm in the throat. This spasm will relieve the tickle. You might feel ill at ease starting a difficult conversation. It makes you fidget, avert your eyes, shift your weight. Denying your anxiety will make the situation even more awkward than it already is. It's better to offer a quick explanation. I feel a bit uncomfortable bringing it up. You need to introduce someone to your friend, but their name has totally slipped your mind. Apologize and claim you've been so busy recently that you're having brain fog. Most people these days understand what a hectic schedule can do to a person. Another way to find out someone's name, that you're supposed to know by now, is to ask for their business card. Or you can give them your phone and ask to put in their contact information. Then, all you need to do is look at the new contact before tucking your phone away. You can also ask the person to spell their name, saying you want to make sure you've got it right. There's no need to shout to be heard at a loud party. Ask the person you're chatting with to bend their ear out and then press it in. They'll hear you much better. To stop hiccuping, put a long straw in a glass or bottle with water. Block both ears with your fingers and start drinking. Or you can try covering a glass of cold water with a paper towel or clean cloth and sip through it. Gently squeezing your nose while drinking something helps too. Another trick is to sit down and bring your knees up to your chest. Hug them for 2 minutes or so. You can also inhale a large gulp of air and hold your breath for as long as you can. Usually, 10 to 20 seconds are enough. Slowly breathe out. If you're still hiccuping after that, repeat several more times. Or grab the tip of your tongue and gently pull on it once or twice. It stimulates the muscles and nerves in your throat. But don't forget to wash your hands before doing it. If you feel you're getting emotional and tears are about to spill, look up and hold your breath for a couple of seconds. Then slowly exhale. You should feel better now. The meeting's over. Time to leave the room. Only, you can't pick up your notes. your arm's fallen asleep. Try clenching and unclenching your fist. It'll get the blood flowing, which will ease the nerves. You can also gently rock your head from side to side. When the nerves in your neck get squeezed, it can lead to tingly hands and arms. Rocking your head will loosen your neck muscles and release the pressure. Phones love autocorrecting your messages into something embarrassing. If you notice your blunder after already having sent the message, you can either apologize or laugh it off. Something like, "Wow, my phone apparently has a mind of its own." An important meeting is about to start, but you feel more than a bit sleepy. Not to doze off while your boss is giving a presentation, take a deep breath and hold it for several seconds. Then release it. You'll feel a bit more energized. It's common to feel awkward, nervous, or shy when talking to new people. Instead of blushing or looking away, follow the 3 seconds of eye contact rule. It won't make you feel uncomfortable, but will show your interest. If someone's explaining something to you, eye contact can be a bit longer than 3 seconds. It's a sure way to prove you're paying attention. Anxiety can get the best of you at the worst possible moment. To deal with this problem, set aside a time slot for your worries. Carve out 15 minutes every day and worry all you want. But once the time's over, you have to stop thinking about the things that make you nervous. Try not to do it right before going to bed, though. This can make it harder to fall asleep afterward. If you feel nervous before an interview or exam, chew some gum. For some reason, eating makes your brain feel safe. You're literally tricking it into a relaxed state. After you eat something extremely cold, like a popsicle, the nerves in the roof of your mouth start freezing. Your body concludes that your brain is getting chilled too. To compensate, it overheats, which leads to an ice cream headache. Instead of scrunching your face and moaning, press your tongue against the roof of your mouth. This will warm it up almost immediately. Try to cover as much space as you can. When you ask for something you need, always use the word "because." It makes people believe there's a serious reason for your request. It happens even to the best of us. A song gets stuck in your head, and it's usually either a commercial jingle or a popular song you've been making fun of. When it happens, you're likely to repeat one part of the song, most often the chorus, again and again. Try singing the song till the very end. It'll make your brain think the song's over, and the tune won't bother you anymore. If you're feeling dizzy, put your hand on something stable. In most cases, it'll help your brain to recalculate your body's position in space, and your dizziness will pass. If you want to ace an important interview, imagine you've known the interviewer for ages. Picture how you're going to greet each other, shake hands, and have a pleasant conversation. This will help you relax before the big event. Let's say you want to leave an awkward conversation, but are unsure of the best time to do it. Each conversation has times when it drops off and has a lull in it. It usually happens before people start a new topic. Such a lull is your cue it's time to leave. Start with, "Well, sorry," or "anyway," before saying your goodbye and fleeing. You can't stand it anymore. You need to get away from this bore you've started talking to at a party, and the sooner the better. Not to hurt their feelings or encourage the person to follow you. Say you need to make a phone call. It's a safer option than saying you're going to go get some food or go to the bathroom. To make your excuse more believable, provide some details. You can easily give an impression of an outgoing person at a party. Pick someone and ask them a random question, like, "I love your shoes. Where did you get them?" It'll be a perfect icebreaker. People just love talking about themselves.
So, when someone is lying, their nose gives it away. And no, it does not grow longer. You haven't seen mine. It turns out that when a person lies, the temperature around their nose, as well as the inner corners of their eyes, rises. So, imagine you're on a first date, and the person tells you something hard to believe. You whip out your thermometer and take the temperature of their nose. Then they take your temperature, and back and forth it goes all night long. Actually, there are better things to do, but I'm not going to spoil it for you. Women's hearts beat faster than men's. The average male's heart rate is between 70 and 72 beats per minute. At the same time, the average for women is between 78 and 82 beats. This is because women's hearts are generally smaller than men's. The female heart pumps less blood with each beat, so it needs to work a little harder to keep up with the male's. Your lungs are one of the largest organs in your body. Their total surface area is almost the same as a tennis court. And the total length of the airways running through them is similar to the distance from Chicago to Las Vegas. And all this manages to fit inside your body. Now, nerve impulses your brain sends travels at a speed of around 170 miles per hour. That's as fast as a high-speed train. The amount of food consumed by the average human in their lifetime weighs as much as 8 Asian elephants. It's unsurprising that we spend around 4 years of our life eating. Ooh, tongue twister. 8 Asian elephants, 8 Asian elephants. Now, we shed our skin as it's actually food for fungi, bacteria, and other stuff we definitely want to stay away from. We get rid of around 600,000 particles of skin every hour. That's why they call me Dusty. Your eyes get their color from a pigment called melanin. Brown-eyed people have more melanin than those with green eyes. The blood in your body travels 4 miles per hour, and it reaches your brain in just a few seconds. Some people can hear the sounds of their eyeballs moving. Ooh. It's a rare condition called canal dehiscence syndrome. It causes every single sound inside the body to be amplified. One man described it as hearing his eyes scratching like sandpaper every time they moved in their sockets. Wow. Then I guess watching a tennis match must get really loud. When you see a person smiling at you, you know how it feels, which can make you do the same. The same is with yawning. It's also some sort of unconscious way our brain makes social bonds with others that are yawning. Wisdom teeth used to have an important role. They were the third set of molars we used to mash meat and other firm food in our mouths. When our brains got bigger and we started eating softer food, jawbone structure changed, which means we didn't need wisdom teeth anymore. And that's why we've dumbed down. Nah, that's not why. When you're awake, your brain produces electricity. The actual amount is between 15 to 25 watts. That's enough to power an LED light. The electricity comes from the brain delivering millions of messages around the body every single second. These messages are how your brain tells your arms to move, for example. Think of your body as a super speedy highway for electrical signals. Your teeth are the only part of your body that can't repair itself. That's why dentists were created. But the enamel they're covered with is one of the toughest things in the human body. Now, scientists have noticed that people with bigger pupils are better at problem solving. Bigger pupilled individuals, yes, that is a legit word, can also focus better and ignore distractions, huh? Even their memory is sharper. We don't know the reasons for the phenomenon yet, but many people think it's because the pupil is linked to a spot in the brain that initiates your mental abilities. What? Humans can use echolocation just like whales or bats. Some blind people can get information about their surroundings in some sort of flashes in 3D perspective and have a strong sense of texture and density. They get information with sound waves. Our brains process those differently than light waves. Echolocation uses certain brain parts sighted people use for vision. Your skeletal cells never stop regenerating. That's why you get a new skeleton every 10 years or so. This process slows down with age, and the regeneration takes longer. That's one of the main reasons why bones become thinner. You must have heard of snakes shedding their skin. But humans do it too. Your skin's outer layer sheds every 2 to 4 weeks. That adds up to roughly 2 pounds of skin every year. That's the same weight as that of a pineapple. Ew. The enamel of our teeth is the hardest substance in the human body. 96% of it consists of minerals. Now, you'd have to stand for way more than 2 hours to burn the same amount of energy as you do in just 30 minutes of walking. The cornea of your eye is the only part of your body with no blood flow at all. It only gets oxygen. Your tongue is the only muscle with ends not connected to bone. Other muscles join two bones at both ends because that's how we pull and make a motion. The tongue is connected to the hyoid bone on one end, which is part of the neck, but there's nothing on the other side. Your sense of smell is the only one that goes directly to the part of the brain that controls your emotions and memories. Did I mention your pancreas? Your pancreas contains taste receptor cells that allow it to detect not only sugar but artificial sweeteners too. It uses the taste data to balance out hormones. Somebody actually counted this, and you swallow 600 times a day, once every minute when you're awake, and around 3 times per hour while sleeping. The average person has 10,000 taste buds. But as they get older, some taste buds are not replaced. An older person may have just 5,000 working buds, so they have to work harder or something. Eventually, human body hair may disappear. It used to protect us from severe weather conditions, but now we have clothes and umbrellas to do that. Most hair on the human body no longer serves any function. That's excluding our eyebrows and eyelashes, which protect our eyes from sweat and other nasty things dripping in. By the way, we're already halfway to losing all our hair. Humans used to be completely covered in it, which made us look as furry as gorillas. You have 5 million hair follicles on your body, and only 100,000 of them on your head. Hair grows half an inch every month, so a 70-year-old person that never got a haircut would have hair as long as a telephone pole. There's a newly discovered type of brain cells crucial for visual search. They're called target cells. Without their help, you wouldn't be able to spot an acquaintance in a crowd or your dog in the park. Interestingly, target cells don't care what the thing you're searching for looks like. All they want to know is whether an object is your target or not. You have around 3 million sweat glands in your body. Many of them are on the soles of your feet and on your palms, forehead, armpits, and cheeks. You get red eyes in photos because when the camera flash goes off, your pupils don't have enough time to constrict. A large burst of light reaches your retina and it bounces back. Food doesn't need gravity to get to your stomach. Your muscles constrict and relax to push it down. But birds need gravity to swallow. Unlike most other animals, we're walking on 2 legs, so we needed extra protection for the head directly exposed to the sun. That's why we have head hair. It also helps us retain heat at night. Our brain may not be big compared to the rest of the body, but it's always active, which produces heat, so the head hair insulates that area. When you blink, you're giving your brain a chance to do a micro nap and recharge. You blink between 20 to 30,000 times a day, which means you walk around with closed eyes around 10% of your waking hours. Your hair knows when you sleep. There are genes that regulate your body clock, and they're placed in the cells of hair follicles. That means scientists can tell if you're a morning bird or a late owl studying your hair. Your nails grow faster today than before. Studies from the 50s and the 70s say nails were growing slower, almost a quarter. Scientists believe it's because we eat more proteins these days, or we're just not chewing them as much. You're a scientist who spent the last few years studying brain abilities and building a machine that can upload any data into a human mind. Want to become a lawyer? Upload all the law knowledge into your brain. Need to learn a new language? Just put on a special headset that connects to your mind and downloads all the necessary information through the computer. Usually, you lose consciousness for a couple of minutes while the information is being uploaded. Then you might feel tired for several hours, since your brain needs some time to adapt to new data. But now you've decided to download much more than one profession. You want to upload an electronic library with millions of books to become the smartest person in the world. You put on a headset, start the program, but forget one simple important thing. Uh-oh. The brain must process any information before you start actually using it. While sleeping, the human brain analyzes and processes all the information received during the day. Well, you start the machine and fall into an endless black abyss. You're climbing an incredibly high mountain. You don't remember how you got here or how long you've been doing this. All you know is that you have to get to the top. You pass through the clouds, the blue sky is replaced with black space. The top is higher than the ISS. You look at the mountain and see that it's not just a rock, but books. You climb an infinitely huge stack of books. Chemical formulas, fish, huge octopuses, tables with mathematical formulas flying around. You stop gripping, but don't fall. You float in space and fly to the top. Ooh, there's a shining light. You're getting closer and closer. Something happens and you fall down at a great speed. Someone is pulling you to the ground. You come back to consciousness, slightly annoyed because such a beautiful dream ended. You wake up, but don't see or remember anything. In the dark, there are flashes of light, and you realize that your eyes are closed. You make an incredible effort and finally open them. You don't know where you are, and your brain is slowly uploading information about your surroundings. You want to get out of bed and understand what's happening, but can't. Your muscles just won't flex. You can't turn your neck. Every movement is hard and your mouth is dry. The eyes are closing since the eyelids are hard to keep open. You want to call for help, but you can't scream. Your vocal cords are too weak, and your jaw muscles don't allow you to open your mouth wide. Your friend comes into the room and tells you not to worry. She says you've been asleep for a month, and that's what's been happening with your brain and body all this time. Our dream consists of two parts: not rapid eye movement, NREM, and rapid eye movement, REM. NREM sleep is the deepest sleep stage and consists of several parts. It's called so because our eyes don't move during this time. The brain's activity decreases and the mind rests. They say during NREM sleep, our subconscious mind turns on. It analyzes all the experiences you've had during the day. Then, the brain begins to slowly come out of the deep stage to the REM phase. Your eyes move quickly behind your eyelids and you can see vivid dreams. The last two phases last about an hour and a half to 2 hours and change each other several times in one night. The NREM phase lasts most of this time, and the REM lasts 15 to 30 minutes. If your body gets enough sleep, you wake up right after the REM phase. If you need more rest, then you return to the deep phase after the REM phase. On average, a person goes through 3 to 4 phases per night. You've had more than 350 of these stages over the last month. The REM phase is important because it receives all the information from the subconscious and processes it. As a result, we see dreams. You may think the whole dream is meaningless, but it's connected with events and sensations we've experienced over the day. When you uploaded the library with 1 million books into your mind, it took much longer to process such an amount of information than a usual 8-hour sleep. You remember only a small part of your dream, and your consciousness doesn't feel that a whole month has passed. The whole processing of the downloaded knowledge was hidden from you by the subconscious mind, but you saw a little part. You dreamed you were climbing a peak that symbolized knowledge. This was your last REM phase in this dream. That's why you remember it so well. The level of your erudition is incredible now. But what's the point if you're completely helpless right now? Your physical body has been through an ordeal this month. During the first few days of sleep, your body doesn't change much. Your brain, knowing that you're asleep, produces a special hormone that causes the body not to produce, well, you don't want to go to the toilet. Also, during sleep, your body cools down slightly and your muscles relax completely. Without physical exertion, muscle fibers become weaker and smaller. You lose 1 to 5% of your muscle mass every day. Blood circulation is disrupted. Muscles don't receive nutrition and weaken so much that they completely turn off. After a month, they become like a thin layer of jelly. This applies not only to your arms and legs. Your face can't express emotions and you can't open your eyes. A couple of days after falling asleep, the body begins to experience severe dehydration. After a week, a large percentage of the fluid in your body disappears. Moisture is extracted from skin tissues, fat, and muscles to maintain the overall health. To conserve moisture and the body's energy, your body cools down. After a couple of weeks, you're not much warmer than a can of soda from the fridge. A month later, you're more like a large chunk of ice. Every day, fewer and fewer vitamins and nutrients are distributed throughout your body. Imagine the bloodstream is a broad highway with thousands of cars, where each car is some element necessary for the organism's functioning. Every day, the number of cars decreases, their speed getting slower. After a month, the road is almost empty. The metabolism is stopped. All your organs except your heart and lungs almost stop working because there's no need to. The kidneys don't filter the incoming moisture. The liver doesn't control the metabolism because no substances enter the body anymore. The lack of vitamins and nutrients makes your bones as brittle as glass. The brain also lacks nutrition. It continues to gain new knowledge, but its reaction speed and analytical abilities decrease. Almost all the remaining resources are directed to provide the brain with energy, but this is still not enough. After waking up, you may not understand for a long time where you are, who you are, and what's happening. The TV is turned on in front of you, and it will take you several seconds to realize it. Your heart rate is reduced several times. The heart isn't working at full strength. You breathe so slowly and so weakly that even a fly flying past your nose can hardly feel the breath. Your body now is like a laptop with a low battery level. The energy is only enough to show the image the computer needs charging. You would be both the smartest and most helpless person in the world. Fortunately, this didn't happen to you, because all this time you were helped by your friend. She fed you through a tube, gave you a complex of vitamins. Your body was covered with a blanket that creates electrical impulses, not too powerful to hurt you, but capable of making your muscles contract. You were in good shape while sleeping. Of course, this is not enough to wake up and feel as good as new. In the first few minutes, it's still difficult for you to move, but after an hour, you get out of bed. In the next few weeks, you restore your nutrition, exercise to tone your muscles, meditate, and do intellectual tasks to relieve your brain stress and restore your nervous system. New knowledge doesn't come immediately. It comes in waves every day. Today, you know all the works of avant-garde writers, and tomorrow, you understand the latest achievements in the field of neural surgery. With this knowledge, you decide to start studying sleep. You like the dream of climbing the mountain so much that you're about to create a device that can record your dreams. Your plan is to create a simple algorithm so that these dreams can be played on a computer screen once you wake up. Ready for a shock? Only about 43% of you is actually you. The rest are your friendly neighbors, microscopic creatures that help you function properly. They mainly live in your gut, but also spread to other parts of your body and never leave it. Still, even though your own cells are fewer than microbial ones, there are, on average, about 100 trillion of them in you. If you take all the microbes dwelling within your body and count their genes, it'll be anywhere from 2 to 20 million genes and their combinations. Tomatoes have more genes than humans. Well, the part that's actually us, of course. This shouldn't concern you, though, because it's not the number of genes that matters, but the complexity of their connections. Our brain is actually pretty large, almost as large as a pillowcase. It's squeezed into a relatively small head just because it's very wrinkly. If you could spread it out, you'd see how brainy you are in reality. When you age, your brain is gradually reducing in size. By age 75, it's much smaller than at 30, and it starts shrinking by the age of 40. It happens in everyone and doesn't affect your mental strength in any way. Our brain can store only 7 bits in its short-term memory. Don't even try to compare your brain with a phone capacity, not even the one you had back in 2005. A mere byte is 8 bits. That's why you can't even learn a phone number by heart. Our short-term memory functions just like a chalkboard. You can get some info, but sooner or later you run out of space. Working memory is an essential thing that we need to perform almost any everyday activity, including basic conversations, navigating in the city, and even trying to copy the moves from a workout video. Our strongest and most emotional memories are usually fake. It's the way the central memory works. It gives us the confidence to believe everything we remember is real, even though we should be confident about fewer details. Your bones become more brittle with age as well, and your spine gets compressed. That's why older people often lose some of their height. In the same way, you're a bit taller in the morning than in the evening because your spinal column gets some rest while you're asleep. This effect is temporary, but the one that comes with age is, unfortunately, permanent. Our lifespan is programmed within our cells. They constantly renew and divide, but they have a sort of internal timer that stops at some point. Some cells also stop reproducing sooner than others. On average, cells cease dividing when we reach the age of 100. That means if we could find a way to trick our cells into turning off the timer, we could potentially live forever. Among mammals, only humans can always walk on two hind limbs and keep that posture for their entire lives. You might object that kangaroos and gorillas move in the same way, but kangaroos use their tail as a third leg, and gorillas use the help of their long arms to keep balance. Body fat isn't just a nuisance. It acts as insulation material, energy reserve, and shock absorber. Your body sends the most fat into your waist region because that's where your internal organs are. If something happens to you, this layer of fat might as well protect your vitals from irreparable damage. Your bones take part in metabolism too. Since they mostly consist of calcium, when there's not enough of this element in your blood, bones start shedding it into the bloodstream, balancing your body. And vice versa. When there's too much calcium in your blood, it goes into the bones to be stored for later. Your skull consists of 28 different bones, many of which are fused together to protect your brain. The mandible, or lower jaw, is the only skull bone that's only kept attached to your head with connective tissues and muscles. And the smallest bone in your whole body is inside your ear. It's called stapes, and it's no larger than a grain of rice. The only bone to have a sense of humor in your body is inside your upper arm. That's why it's called humerus. Okay, I made that one up. Move along. Some of the strongest muscles in your body aren't in your arms or legs. They're in your head. Masseter is the main muscle responsible for chewing, and it needs to be the strongest for you to eat normally. And you know those muscles that allow you to move your ears? Those are temporalis, located above your temples. They also help you to chew your food. We've got two really fast muscles. They control the eyelid closing. In fact, they're the fastest muscles in our body. Eyes are fragile and need protection. That's why, when a reflex is triggered, these muscles shut the eyes within less than 1/10 of a second. It's been believed for a long time that a person could distinguish more than 10,000 smells. A recent research showed that people were able to distinguish more than 1 trillion smells. We also remember them better than anything else, and smells can even evoke some distant memories. We recognize only purple-blue, green-yellow, and yellow-red colors. Everything else is a combination of these three. It's impossible to calculate how many of these combinations the human eye sees because every single person has slight vision differences, but it's about 1 million combinations on average. We feel about 80% of the taste of any food thanks to the nose and its ability to recognize odors. If you hold your nose while eating, you will taste almost nothing. You might have a chocolate bar or smoked fish in your mouth, there will be no difference for you. Your sense of smell turns completely off while you're asleep. Your brain just doesn't register any smells. So if you've fallen asleep and then something starts stinking in your house, you won't be bothered in the least. Rover, you bad boy! Your nose doesn't just help you breathe and catch odors, it filters the air for sensitive throats and lungs. If we inhale dry air, the nose moistens it, cools it, and heats it if it's necessary. Also, the nose cleans the air from dirt. We can accidentally digest small objects, such as plastic items, glass, coins, and many other small objects. They'll make their way through the digestive tract within 48 hours. And there's even a man who managed to eat a whole airplane. It took him years, though, but little by little, he finished his metal meal with no trouble at all. When asked if the plane was staying there forever, the guy replied, "No, just passing through." Yeah, I made that up. Speaking of meals, you feel sleepy after a hearty lunch or dinner because of your basic instincts. Your brain thinks, and rightfully so, that when you eat, you're safe. And if you're safe, you can lie down and have some rest before going back to the world so full of dangers. Every person has their unique smell that can't be confused with anyone else's. Still, if you have an identical twin, you will both have the same smell. Now, our brain perceives giving presents as a more positive act than receiving them. Humans are social creatures. That's why, when we do something good for others, we feel good ourselves. The brain gives us a reward for acting this way in the form of oxytocin, the happiness hormone. Our eyes are powerful tools, much more so than any camera invented to this day. But still, unfortunately, they can't see the glow coming from our bodies. Yep, we're bioluminescent, just like some deep-sea creatures. The only difference is that our glow is so weak that only very sensitive capturing equipment can actually see it. Oops, time's up, gotta glow. Okay, yes, it's possible to rotate your eyes, but you can't do it without some practice. Our eyes have 4 major muscles that allow them to move up and down and side to side. There are actually 2 more muscles that we use without knowing as well. These muscles help you roll or rotate your eyes. We can focus on something rotating, and our eyes will start rotating with it. This helps us have a stable image and keep a clear vision, like an autofocus on a camera. When you move your head side to side and up and down, your eyes will move in the opposite direction. The average human eye has 3 cones, which lets us see red, green, and blue spectrums of light. All combined, this gives us the ability to see around 1 million different colors. Tetrachromats see the ultraviolet shades as well, as they've got 4 cones in their eyes. Pause here to quickly test how many colors you can count. There were 39 colors there. If you counted a lot, you might be a tetrachromat. Some animals, like bats and dolphins, can see using echolocation. There are also humans that can do something similar called flash sonar. They can use clicking sounds to make a 3D image of an area in their minds, allowing them to easily navigate through it. The more they click, the more flashes they get about a room or an area, giving them a better understanding of the place. Being pitch perfect is astonishingly rare. Less than 1 in 10,000 people have it. It allows people to accurately identify musical notes of all kinds. One of the many advantages of this talent is that it allows people to listen to a song and immediately know what key it's in. Hey, without music, life would be flat. People with distichiasis are born with a second set of eyelashes that grow from the inner layer of the eyelid. While it may look pretty to some, these extra lashes can irritate the eye and cause problems like sensitivity to light, droopy eyelids, tearing, and inflammation. There are a few ways to treat the condition, like soft contacts, lasers, and cryotherapy. Dutch health guru Wim Hof claims that his breathing, meditation, and training have helped him gain all kinds of superhuman abilities. He's trained his body to adapt to extreme temperatures and even learned how to raise his own body temperature. He's also been able to adapt more quickly to altitude changes. He has even claimed that his training methods and strict diet and exercise regimen have improved his immune system. Now, we're meant to get anywhere from 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night to function the next day. But there are some lucky people out there that only need 6 hours or less a night. This is caused by a genetic anomaly, and there don't seem to be any adverse effects from having it. We have about 10,000 taste buds, but some people have many more than that, super tasters. Thanks to their powerful ability to taste sweet things like oranges, strawberries, and candy are almost too sweet, while bitter things like broccoli, cabbage, spinach, grapefruit, and coffee are overpowering. Well, thanks anyway, but I'll keep what I have. Most people have a total of 24 ribs. No, not at the restaurant. In your body. There's a chance you might be one of the few that has 25 ribs instead. About 1 in 200 people have a cervical rib, a spare rib just above the first rib. It's usually not even noticed because it's above the collarbone and pretty thin. Hey, when's lunch? I got hungry for some reason. Chances are you have an innie belly button. That's because only about 10% of the world's population have an outie, making it pretty rare. It has nothing to do with how our umbilical cord is cut. Our belly button stores a bit of fat beneath it, and it's this that determines what kind of belly button you'll end up with. So don't blame the doctor. The type you have is completely down to genetics. If you've ever experienced high altitude, you should know how hard it is on your body. Even just walking up a hill can be a difficult task. Give it a few days though and things will become easier. Your lungs, blood cells, and body will adapt quicker than you think, letting you hold on to that precious oxygen for longer. This adaptation will last for as long as you stay up high, and you'll go back to normal after a while back at normal altitude. When we submerge ourselves in water, it causes our heart rate to drop and oxygen consumption to slow. In recent years, freedivers have pushed the limits of human lungs by going down a record of 700 feet. One person held his breath for more than 22 minutes underwater. We don't know what the limits are yet, but people are testing the boundaries. When a person has a photographic memory or total recall, this is called eidetic memory. It's the ability to accurately recall sounds, images, or other things from your memory. Some can even be told a date in a calendar from years ago and tell you what day it actually was. Unfortunately, you can't get an eidetic memory with practice. You have to be born with it. An ultra-marathon runner named Dean Karnazes once ran for 350 consecutive miles and didn't even sleep for 3 days. He's most famous for running 50 marathons in all 50 U.S. states in 50 consecutive days. He finished this achievement off by completing the New York Marathon in only 3 hours. Some people have an incredible ability to find their way without using a compass or even the stars. This unique navigational ability has been linked to the strength of the signals given off in a certain part of the brain called the entorhinal region. Place the back of your wrist and forearm on a table, then squeeze your thumb and pinky together. Do you see a muscle raise up in the middle of your forearm? If you don't worry, it's vestigial. That means that it doesn't do anything useful anymore. Hey wait, that's me. It's an old muscle that we used to use for climbing, and around 10% of the human population doesn't even have it anymore. If you can wiggle your ears, you can thank your auricular muscles. Those are the ones on the outside of your ear. Even if you can't wiggle your ears, the muscles are still there. Compared to other mammals, our ears can't move much. Some mammals can even fully turn their ears to locate sounds. Just watch your dog or cat. A dog's third eyelid might be a bit creepy the first time you see it, but we also have a third eyelid of sorts. But this human body part can't move by itself. It just covers a tiny part of the inside corner of your eye. It's likely that it used to serve a purpose, but it's pretty much useless now. Sometimes you just need a really good cry. It's also good for you too. Shedding tears when you cry helps release your stress hormones. It can also stimulate the production of endorphins as well, our body's natural answer to aspirin. Your brain replaces itself every 2 months, your liver every 6 weeks, your epidermis or just skin every month. Even your stomach lining replaces itself every few days. If your body didn't do this, the acids inside of your stomach wouldn't just digest food, they'd also start digesting you. So, alright, what's eating you? Oh, you. The human lungs contain around 1,500 miles of airways and a total surface area of about 754 square feet when laid flat. But I would suggest that you don't do that. Your lungs are on the clock 24/7, keeping you alive and breathing, taking 12 to 15 breaths a minute or about 17,000 a day. Your left lung is slightly smaller than your right lung to make room for your big heart. After years of wear and tear, your feet may weaken enough that they seem to grow. This can cause our arches to flatten, meaning broader and longer feet eventually. It won't happen to everyone, but people who get swollen feet or ankles are more prone. If it does happen to you, you've got time. By age 70 or 80, your feet would have only gone up one size. Taste is influenced a lot by the temperature of what you're eating or drinking. For example, hot coffee seems less bitter and tastes much better because the heat tricks our bitter-detecting taste buds. The same goes for cold coffee too. The cold masks the bitterness flavor and creates a more pleasant aftertaste. Room temperature coffee doesn't smell the same or taste nice because the bitterness comes on more strongly. Brushing your teeth too aggressively is very possible, and it's not good for your teeth at all. It'll wear down the enamel and make them sensitive to hot and cold foods. Teeth don't repair themselves, so you gotta take care of them. Slow down your brushing and take a full 2 minutes to get your teeth properly clean. Don't forget the floss, too. You know what? In 10 years from now, you'll be a completely different person. Well, at least your skeleton will be. To reach its adult size, your skeleton went through a process called modeling, which means the development of growth and formation. Turns out it regenerates completely once every 10 years or so. This entire process ensures you always have healthy bone cells, which can support you and provide calcium to your body. And speaking of ways the body regenerates, every second you make 25 million new cells. I'll do the math for you. Okay, that means in about 15 seconds, you'll have made more cells than there are people in the United States. Think about that the next time you feel you haven't been productive enough. Some animals have eyes that need to adapt to hot climates, like camels, for example. Their eyes feature a third eyelid, but these sweep across from the corner of each eye. Because their environment is filled with small particles, they need to clean their eyes more frequently than other species. Now, see that little pink thing in the corner of your eye? It's also a third eyelid. Well, a vestige at least. In humans, the third eyelid is unnecessary because it no longer serves its original purpose. Next time you're tuning into your favorite song, try to pay some attention to your heartbeat. If you listen closely, you'll notice that sometimes your heartbeat may synchronize with the rhythm of the song. Now, not all genres of music have this special ability, but some tunes trigger the release of dopamine, or the happy hormone. This effect may give you a lower heart rate, breathing rate, and blood pressure. And speaking of that healthy ticker of yours, just in case you're wondering, it beats on average about 75 times per minute. This means each year, a human heart can pump enough blood to fill an Olympic-sized pool, if that were a thing. What's even more fascinating is that if you were to connect all your blood vessels end to end, it would be able to circle the Earth 2.5 times. But that's not good for your own health, so don't do that. Your heart can also continue to beat even if it's removed from the body. That's because it has its own internal battery, which allows it to beat as long as it receives oxygen. If you regularly have your nails done at a salon, you've probably noticed you need more appointments for your fingers than your toes. That's because fingernails do grow faster. The definitive scientific answer is still up for debate, but many specialists think it's because fingernails used to be claws, somewhere back in our ancient history. These days, they're flatter and have widened a bit, and it all happened when primates started using tools in their day-to-day lives, like stones and branches, so there was less use for claws. Once they got flatter, it meant nails wouldn't have gotten in the way if primates wanted to use the palms of their hands. As for why fingernails grow faster than toenails, the short answer may be the fact that we use our hands more than your feet. As such, our fingernails are more exposed, and we may have evolved to grow them faster. The more you use a certain part of your body, the more it becomes exposed to damage. So for me, I'm in danger of my mouth falling off. Oh boy. Getting back to our hands, it's about time we give a nice shout out to our humble pinkies. We don't see them as being really that important, since we don't use them for holding objects, eating, or writing. But recent studies have shown that losing the pinky on our dominant hands would have a devastating effect. Specialists haven't gathered enough data to supply specific numbers, but from what they've learned so far, losing our pinky would weaken our grip strength considerably, even if it's the lesser used finger. Adding the ring finger to that, and the effect would be worse for our grip strength. Another recent study done in the UK has shown that only about 40% of people are happy with how their nose looks. Regardless of how you feel about it, the human nose is a real-life superhero. That's because it acts as a heater, filter, and humidifier all at once. Inside each nostril, there are small, shelf-like bones that feature blood vessels. They heat the air up before it reaches other parts of our respiratory system. The mucus that's inside there handles making the air more humid. As for the filtering part, That's why we have nose hairs. Small particles get stuck on these small hairs, which helps prevent pollen, spores, viruses, or bacteria from reaching our lungs. Now, when watching cartoons, we're led to believe that the sound our heart makes is because it's touching its environment while beating. Well, it turns out that sound is actually made by the opening and closing of the heart valves. They're like small doors inside our hearts that open and close to pump blood correctly from one side of the heart to the other. For our bodies to work, blood needs to move at the right time and in the right direction, or else. Now let's talk teeth. Throughout your entire life, you'll probably spend up to 40 days total just brushing your teeth. And in case you're still wondering, teeth are not in fact bones, even though they do have a lot in common. One of the primary differences between bones and teeth is that our bones can regenerate. They are living tissue. Our teeth are not, and they remain permanently damaged once broken. Now here's another shocker. We are the only species on this planet to have a chin. There's still some debate about this subject in the scientific community, but one of the reasons why seems to be to make our jaws stronger. As humans have continued to evolve, their teeth and the muscles in their jaws got smaller and smaller, so they needed something to help with increased jaw resistance. Now, most of us have developed some specific traits depending on the area of the globe in which we live. But there is a group of people, specifically those who live in higher altitudes, that develop some pretty cool traits. That's because high-altitude environments come with less oxygen. Not only do these people survive in these locations, but they've adapted so well that they actually thrive. In the Andes Mountains of South America, people have evolved red blood cells that can carry much more oxygen. It makes their overall circulatory system much more efficient. People living in Tibet have to endure similar conditions, but surprisingly, they have adapted differently. In Tibet, they can take more breaths so that they can properly oxygenate their bodies. You've probably heard the myth about dreams only lasting a couple of seconds in reality. Turns out that yes, some of them do, but not all dreams are the same. There are a lot of things we don't understand yet about how we dream. What we do know is that they mainly happen during the rapid eye movement or REM stage of sleep. During this time, your brain is more active, about as active as it is when you're awake. And it's named REM because during the sleep stage, your eyes tend to move a lot. Dreams can happen during the other stages of sleep too, but you're less likely to remember them. As for the length of each dream, they can go from a few seconds to even 20 to 30 minutes. Also, you're more likely to remember a dream if you've woken during the REM stage. Most people have 3 to 5 dreams per night, but some people can have up to 7. I know, seems unlikely, but remember, you immediately forget most of what you dream. Just like we have unique fingerprints, we also develop unique tongue prints. Research has shown that those approximately 10,000 taste buds on our tongues are laid out in a one-of-a-kind pattern. Truth is, about 80% of what you believe is taste is actually smell. That combination of taste and smell that we perceive is what we come to know as flavor. That's probably because our sense of smell is around 10,000 times more sensitive than our sense of taste. Our mouths have also another cool superpower called mouthfeel. With the help of the somatosensory system, it allows us to sense the texture of our food. The system is activated by physical touches, such as pressure, touch, or vibrations. It's even sensitive to pain and temperature. We also use our tongues to identify the size, form, and texture of food, which is crucial for proper chewing and digestion. Tongues are also good for wagging, sticking out at certain people, and trumpet playing. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.